Welcome to Pub Sports Radio's Gridiron Gamblers. Week one of the NFL season is here, and we are so excited to break down this card. Not only is it the debut, the premiere of our show, it's also the debut of our co-host here on Pub Sports Radio, Andy Molitor, star of BetSperts and the Deep Dive podcast, rolling with us. Andy, how are you, my man?
I'm just jacked up, man. It's been a long summer, a long time waiting to get here, and we finally are. Week one, almost ready. Big time Thursday night game to kick it off, and then, like we were saying, no buys yet. Full slate, 16 games, a lot of betting opportunities.
A lot of work to do, and as always, all of our picks here will be tracked, and we will be accountable and honest with every move that is made here on the show. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. Viper NB, Sean Dozier, Alex Ramirez, Rambo's brother, Gerald Jones, the Nuke Worker Fanatical, Jim Peter Loshak in the house, the legend Loshak joining us, Jonathan Yim, Slatsy in the house. Slatsy45 says, welcome, Andy. Really like your work with the Whale Capper. Hope you know what you're in for with this group. That sounds...
That's ominous.
Let's have the season. Danny Lopez, Burgundy Bets, LJ from H-Town, Terry Walker, Dave and Cal 48. What a great group. Thank you guys for joining us. Andy, you are making your debut here at Pub Sports Radio, and our friends and fans and family would like to know a little bit about you. What city are you in? How did you get into NFL capping? And give us a little idea of how it all started for Andy Molitor.
Yeah, I'm up in Rochester, Minnesota. Lovely this time of year, not so much by the time the NFL season culminates, but we're enjoying the fall. And yeah, I've been betting, watching fantasy, pick 'em contests for a long time, but started taking it a little more serious a few years ago when, like people have mentioned, the deep dive. Once Drew and I started doing that, it's like, man, we're kind of accountable for putting this stuff out in the air. I'm going to try a little harder. And both of us said, like, this is like the best year we've ever had. Just starting to track our CLV and really take things a little more seriously. And honestly, the networking we did that, and, just, I'm sure that too, is like the longer you're in this game, the more people you get to know, the more information you get faster. And it's really helped out over the years. And yeah, just love the NFL. It's never going to be the most profitable sport because there's just not enough games. Like college basketball, I got, 20,000 games a year. I'm going to make some cash there. Golf is all year round. I'm going to make some cash there, but NFL doesn't matter. It's still the sport I love the most. And there have been years where it has been the most profitable because you can catch some nice numbers. Maybe, next year we'll have to do this a little earlier, hit some futures, because that was where I made my cash last year when Urban Meyer found his way out the door and a couple of awards markets that went my way. So I'm jacked up.
We are really excited to have you working with us this season. Thank you guys so much for joining us. A big 16-game slate for us to attack. We got C-Mac, Razor Sharp Picks, Birdie, Dabby Cab, Dennis Trusty. What a great group. Let's get to work. We start with the Thursday nighter in almost exactly 48 hours from now. And don't forget, Dutch Boy Fresh will be going live for the Thursday nighter all game long, live bet stream for the Buffalo Bills, who went 11-6 last year, 5-3 on the road at the Los Angeles Rams, 12-5, 5-3 at home, SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Your Super Bowl champions. Over the last 21 years, Super Bowl champs are 18-3 straight up. 13-6-2 against the spread in week one of the season, but they are the underdogs here. The Buffalo Bills opened up as 1-point favorites. They are now 2.5-point favorites at Pinnacle. From a total perspective, this opened up at 52. At a pick'em, it is still right there. No movement. 53,162 tickets are in. 65% of the tickets and 76% of the cash is on the Buffalo Bills on the spread. From the total perspective, we don't have the cash up, which is funny because we have so much money and there's 6 different games. So 6 of the 16 games here, I'm not going to be able to give you a cash run from Sports Insights on the total. Let's get to work here. Super Bowl favorite Buffalo Bills travel to play the reigning Super Bowl champs. Buffalo had the number 3 offense last year at 29.6 points per game, but Brian Daboll, who had this offense humming, is gone. Daboll is in New York, and Ken Dorsey has big shoes to fill as the new offensive coordinator. Bills have 9 starters returning on offense. Josh Allen is the favorite to win MVP. He has Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Isaiah McKenzie returning. They signed Jamison Crowder for a 1-year contract up to $4 million, possibly with incentives, 1.87 guaranteed. The Rams lost Von Miller, the NFL active sack leader, to these very Bills. Buffalo signed to a $120 million contract, $51.4 million guaranteed, 18.5 signing bonus. Last year, the Bills' defense was very tough, very tough. The Super Bowl champion Rams lost some pieces in the offseason. We talked about Von Miller, Andrew Whitworth, Robert Woods. The Rams had the number 6 offense last year at 26 points per game. Matt Stafford had a wild first year with the Rams, tied his career high with 41 touchdown passes. He also did that as a 23-year-old back in 2011. He also threw 17 interceptions. That's his most since 2013. He sat out all the throwing drills. He got an injection for elbow pain in his throwing arm. He was supposedly battling severe tendonitis, but he is good to go. They signed ex-Bear Allen Robinson. They have a healthy Cam Akers. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp coming off 1,947 yards, 16 touchdowns. Van Jefferson expected to get a big jump in his numbers, 802 yards, 6 touchdowns last week. And on defense, everything starts with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, but the Rams signed a very hungry Bobby Wagner. The Thursday nighter, Andy, our first game of the year. Bills-Rams, take it away.
Yeah, and I won't say who, but somebody in the chat already nailed what I'm doing with this one. I make my own numbers. Just I guess I could have talked about that a little off the get-go too. I always make my own numbers. I compare them, but I've never been the guy who just says, hey, my numbers say this and the odds say this, so I'm blindly betting it because I disagree and I show X amount of value. I still will always dig in. There are plenty of games where my numbers disagree and I say, I still can't bet it because X, Y, Z or this level of uncertainty around a certain player or a matchup within the game. So my numbers don't make this quite as big as the spread would indicate, but still close enough and still within a couple points. I'm fine with this. And a couple people in the chat already said this. This is a tough one to lead off with. And it's about 50-50 in the chat there for who likes who. A lot of uncertainty on both teams, though. The Rams down in OC. But again, and once you start talking about Minnesota, it's not the guy who actually called plays. It's tough to say how much of a part he was of the offensive game plan, the scheming from week to week. It's still a blow to him. And same thing on the other side of the ball, losing a coordinator. It's always tough to tell what's going to come of that sort of thing from one year to another. Early in the season with the high level of uncertainty in that, I'm calling that just a wash. The big thing is the Stafford elbow. If that thing is a problem, that could be problematic for a team that, maybe doesn't have the chops to repeat just based off what they have. But the NFC is kind of weak. If this team can do anything like it did last year, it absolutely can get back to the title game. So the elbow things worry me. And also with the Rams, and this was a big point myself and others made last year, was they're kind of thin. That it's a stars and scrubs type of roster. A lot of people, I said that, and Drew said that at the beginning of last year too. Man, a couple of injuries and they're just dead. And they just never had those injuries. And again, that's the same kind of thing we're looking at this year, but it's still week 1. Like that's more of a season-long kind of lookout thing. I have this team a lot closer to, the Bills and other people. The main concern maybe is losing a tackle. Noteboom steps in there for Whitworth. The offensive line still should be good. Not a lot of big, disadvantages or advantages for positional groups here. It is a really good Buffalo defense that can get pressure, but Stafford played really well last year. So really, really, really going to look at this in a lot of teasers. I'm not going to be able to lay the points. I don't like to take a short dog like this with a high total like this one. So I'm usually going to tease something like this or just take the Rams straight up. So in this case, this is going to end up in a teaser with at least one other team here. So that's a big thing too. Shop around for that. We're always going to say shop around, find the best price, but shopping around for teasers is especially important now with some of the books really, really wanted to take you to town on that price. If you can find -110 on a 6-pointer, that's the golden goose there, because that is fewer and far between right now. But even -120, I think you can get there on some of these if you're selective enough. So I'm gonna take the 2.5, tease it up to 8.5. I don't love that with the high total, but they are at home and they've had a lot of time to prepare. And honestly, I think they have the better coach. You can say a lot of things about the Buffalo Bills, a lot of nice things. I think some of their shortcomings came from the top with the head coaching there. I think that might have cost them in the playoffs, and I think it cost them a couple of regular season games too.
My plan at this point is I want to bet the first half under. I just don't see a high speed early in this game. I think they're going to take their time. I think they're going to think things out. First half under is at 25.5 for me. I thought about moving on the full game under 53. It's now 52. I'm hesitating there. This is what I would like to do, Andy. Tell me what you think of this idea. We have Dutch Boy Fresh doing his live show on Thursday. The first team that scores, I would like to take the other side. I think this is going to be a close football game. So the first team that gets a touchdown, and I want a touchdown. I don't want a 3-0 lead. I want one team to get a touchdown. I want to bet the other side, unless an injury or something comes up. So my idea is watch the game with Dutch, see who scores the first 7, take the other side, and likely tying that in with a first half under. Also, if there's an early score, I'll immediately bet the under. But nothing in me wants to bet the over. What do you think of those ideas and those angles?
I'm pretty set. I think this total's pretty sharp. I'm fine with it. There was a group that came in and some people hit the over, pushed it up. It got some market resistance, bought right back down, sitting right around 52. I get that. And I will say, too, when it comes to live betting, that can get a little dicey on a Sunday where maybe your focus isn't completely on that game. But, on a Thursday like this, when you're only going to be watching this game, I think probably you'll have enough information to make that live bet. Live betting's a little tricky. You can't just say, well, if maybe you have your plan like that, but what if the one team just looks like Jesus Christ came back and played quarterback and they marched right down the field, and maybe you're a little hesitant there. I tend to maybe downplay the opening drive sometimes. Some of these scripted drives you see right away, you say like, that's maybe that was the first 15 scripted. This offense is going to look like that all day. You can take that with a grain of salt, but maybe there's a couple punts and then you end up with maybe even a lucky score or a score you don't think they deserved, or maybe a penalty aided drive that maybe betting against that team. I don't hate that, especially if you get a bigger number. And I hate teasing this because, again, my only MVP ticket is on Josh Allen. I think they're just dying to give it to him.
I love it. I love the breakdown. I'm so excited about the Thursday nighter. So my plan is the first half under. Razor says first game of the year, public will be hammering the over. Do you think that, because it has gone from 53 to 52 in the last 24 hours, do you think this number creeps up and it might be worth waiting?
It could be. Like you'll see plenty of money come Thursday, but I think just with what you've seen of the market already, the people with real big money have been fine, pounding this under once it goes up. So if the public, if you want to do that, maybe pay attention, wait for it and be ready, because I think if it does keep getting bet up to 53, there's going to be money just taking it right back down.
I love it. There's our Thursday nighter. I plan to be on the first half under. I also plan to be here on Pub Sports Radio Thursday night for Dutch Boy Fresh and the opening game of the season as we live bet it. There is your Thursday nighter. We move on to Sunday. First game we'll be breaking down 1 p.m. Eastern. The New Orleans Saints, 9-8, 6-3 on the road last year at the Atlanta Falcons, 7-10. a 2-6 at home. I know I started the year by saying Falcons, and I apologize to all of you who've tried to make me say Falcons over the last 5 years or so. I guess the Canadian in me creeps out in ways I don't want it to, and I apologize right off the top. I can't believe I did it right off the top. Okay, let's stay focused here and not think about that. We move on to the line history here, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. You can tell it's the first show of the year because I'm calling them the Falcons. The Saints open up at -5. They're now -5.5. We go to the totals. It opened up at 41.5. It is now at 42.5. That is where we stand. Let's take a look at the cash flow in this one. Winston versus Mariota, 21,776 tickets in. 76% of the tickets are on Winston. And when I talk about the tickets, I'm only going to talk spread. I'm not going to talk money line unless it's a pick 'em. 76% of the tickets are on the Saints, and 84% of the cash is on the Saints. And then it's 50-50 for the total. And here's another game where they're not giving us the cash money here on Sports Insights. It's great to see. I wish I could give all you guys a shout out. I'm seeing so many names that I haven't seen in a while. Eric Swiatek, it is so great to have you back in action with us. Jonathan Yim says, I know we are doing the suicide pool this year, but will you still give some info on your ideas, or you keep them under your hat? No, I'll definitely will. And don't forget, that's a big deal here at Pub Sports Radio. We have our Cappers contest, 5 picks against the spread, and we have our Survivor pool. And the Survivor pool has to be in by Thursday. The 5 picks in the Capper contest, you have until Saturday night to get in. Also, my mom will be in the contest, and there will be a penalty if she beats you. We are discussing what that penalty will be, but there will be a penalty for sure. And don't forget, Thursdays, we have the Cappers contest show, Jose and I, because Jeff Slaughter is buying us into the Circa Millions. I got my Circa Millions hat right there, and we will be working with the chat to decide which 5 games we'll be betting each week, and not 1 cent will go into Jose and I's pocket. It will all go to us partying out of control. Let's go. After 16 years of Sean Payton in charge, Dennis Allen takes over in New Orleans. Allen took over from Rob Ryan as defensive coordinator, and he improved the Saints defense drastically. Allen kept Peter Carmichael as offensive coordinator. Dynamic star running back Alvin Kamara was arrested and charged with battery in the offseason, as we all know. His trial has been pushed until at least October 1st. His expected suspension will either come during the season or possibly after the season, but he is ready for week 1. And Sky Dragon says, what if she wins the whole thing? God, I would love it if she, she's no joke, man. She caps. Jameis Winston threw for 14 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in the 7 games he started before he tore his ACL and also damage to the MCL. That was week 8 against the Bucs. His quarterback rating was 102.8, 10 points higher than any other season in his career. He is a loaded group at wide receiver, but what are we going to get from Michael Thomas since his monster 2019? We don't know. He is fully recovered from his ankle injury, ready to roll, but he did pick up a hamstring injury late in camp. We don't know if that could turn into a more serious issue. Chris Olave was New Orleans' first-round pick out of Ohio State. He joins a group that includes Jarvis Landry and Marquez Callaway. The defense is expected to be very strong this year. Cameron Jordan, Marcus Davenport up front, Demario Davis in the linebacking group, Tyrann Mathieu, Marshawn Lattimore in the secondary. With Matt Ryan out of the picture, Marcus Mariota takes over duties for these Atlanta Falcons. I can't wait to hear what Andy's expectations are of Marcus Mariota, because I don't have high expectations for him. We know that Desmond Ridder is a quarterback of the future. He could see time if Mariota fails. Cordero Patterson did everything for this squad last year, 618 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns, also caught 52 passes for 548 yards and 5 touchdowns. The Falcons drafted wide receiver Drake London, number 8 out of USC. That's the highest drafted wideout by Atlanta since Julio Jones in 2011. 6'4", 219 pounds. So Mariota has 6'4", 219 in London. He has 6'6", 246 pounds in Kyle Pitts. Pitts coming off that monster rookie season, 1,026 yards and 1 touchdown. And on defense, Grady Jarrett will lead the defensive front. A.J. Terrell is a very good corner. Casey Hayward will be signed to patrol the other side. Let's talk about this one on Sunday. Andy, take it away. New Orleans Saints, Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, starting with you kind of touched on it. The bright spots for the Falcons. Falcons are, I'll say it twice every time, just to keep pounding it in here. I love the Canadian accent stuff, but the bright spots are the cornerbacks. Like they have one good, one decent cornerback. They have some pass rush, and they have what is unquestionably probably one of the better tight ends in the league. Coming into his own eventually. Just needs some pieces around him. I don't know if the Mariota thing works out. It's not a bad spot for him. I guess if you're going to have a really bad offensive line, and it was a bottom 3 offensive line last year that they did very little to address. If you're going to have a bad offensive line and maybe some issues in the wide receiving course, at least you have a quarterback who's ready, willing, and able to run a little, because I feel like he's going to be running plenty. This is a tough test right off the bat. This is a big ask to lay this many points on the road in a divisional game right off the bat. I know people tend to, it's not even really a public thing. I mean, you see this in the markets. People tend to value, hey, this is a divisional underdog. These teams are familiar with themselves. It's not something where we're going to want to lay a lot of points with a favorite here, especially on the road. And you did see a little money come in on New Orleans. A total ticked up a titch, but again, it went from like 4.5 or 5 up to 5. It's not like it crossed to 7 or something important. So I don't put a ton of stock in the Saints money, and I really, really struggle to want to bet either side of this with actual American dollars. This total, I had a hell of a time. I'll just say it. I'll have a hell of a time with Falcons totals last year. When I zigged, they zagged in every which way. I don't know what to expect of this offense. Somebody asked, I think you spoke about London. We don't know. Right now, we're sitting here on a Tuesday night. We haven't got all the injury info. He's progressing. We're hopeful. Like, that doesn't mean yes. It doesn't mean no. So that's a big part of a really beleaguered wide receiver core that basically is turning into a tight end core, I guess, if you don't have him. And on the other side, you spoke about Jameis. He looked great, honestly. He kind of changed his game. It didn't get enough pub, probably. He changed a lot of what he did from his 30-30 season in Tampa, and he was looking like he was an efficient quarterback who'd bought into the, what he was told to do down here in New Orleans, and he didn't even have good wide receivers. Like, he's going to step on the field, and Michael Thomas is going to play. He's going to step on the field and instantly have the best wide receiving, again, I'll just keep saying core, I guess, that he's ever had here while he's been, a short time in New Orleans. Olave is just one of those. It was always going to be a safe pick. Like, he should be good. Michael Thomas is great. Sometimes people forget when a guy misses that much time, but he has a very high ceiling. So I like this offense, and a little bit of a lower total. I don't know if I want this over, but you could talk me into, if you made me bet something here. Boy, a Saints team total, even if I say, hey, the Falcons have good corners, maybe we're able to do this against one or two of these receivers. You still have Kamara, who I think honestly does play the full season with what I'm hearing from the court proceedings and whatnot. You got Kamara, you've got a smart quarterback apparently now, and it's still, those corners aren't going to stop them all day. I don't believe in this pass rush. This is a good offensive line. I think the Saints can score some points here. So team total should be 23-ish, something along those lines. I might take a peek at that. I like to tickle these team totals here and there.
Yeah, there's a couple team totals that I'm attacking as well. The next game, 49ers Bears, is one of them. Let's see what I would get for the team total here. We're getting, at this point, it's a 24.5. Bet 365 for the Saints, juiced to the under, and it's 16.5, heavily juiced to the over for the Falcons. This game makes me nervous. It makes me nervous. We've had my man Birdie confident in this Falcons spot. He says, I bet the Falcons plus 5.5, and I also believe this money line is live. Atlanta has continuity and preparation. This is the same Saints team. Saints have not seen this Falcons offense. He is both familiar with any quarterback switch teams, immediately goes into an offense that was developed for him. And that's what, so you gave us an idea of what you think Jameis is going to do, and I agree with you. What are your expectations on the new quarterback here, Marcus Mariota of the Falcons?
I don't fully understand what the identity that Arthur Smith wanted to put into place last year was, and it didn't help that they had some issues, losing some wide receivers, losing some other pieces, and it wasn't a really great roster as well. So I'm not 100% sure where their head's at, because they also drafted a rookie quarterback. Did they realize that, hey, this is a bad team? We're just going to let Mariota play until we think, we've got enough practice reps to strut the kid out there and see where we're at. Or maybe it works out. We win a few games. We're actually in the playoff hunt, and then we don't do that. So they haven't really said, and teams are cagey about that. So I'm not so sure. And you say that sometimes. You say like, hey, well, it sucks. We can't build this offense around this quarterback because we have a rookie we're going to bring in, and we don't want to, have to change things. But they're not too dissimilar. He's going to do a lot of the things that Mariota does too. So if they build an offense around Mariota, it's kind of building an offense around the rookie as well. So I'd like to see a little more of Mariota before I go betting on him. I did get to see a little bit. I think he filled in spots here and there, but I don't know if he's still the same guy we saw. How many years ago now was it that he was supplanted up there in Tennessee? So I'm not excited about betting this game any which way.
Gerald Jones looking at the Atlanta team total under. Gerald Jones also likes the full game under 43. I'm going to need more time with this game. Don't forget, Sunday mornings, 11 a.m., Pub Sports NFL Pop-Up is popping off. 7 different cappers every Sunday, including myself. I will be hosting. We'll be breaking down the picks that they are on, just straight picks in about 10 or 15-minute spots. That is the Saints-Falcons. Let's move into a game that I want to get involved in. I have yet to make a bet in week 1 of the NFL season, but we had a monster preseason, 12-2 plus 9.9 units. So the season has gotten off to a spectacular start, and I want to get involved here. San Francisco 49ers, 10-7, 6-3 on the road at the Chicago Bears, 6-11 last year, 3-5 at home. We're at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. Showers at this point. I know some people don't want to hear what the weather is 5 days in advance, but showers, 70 Fahrenheit, 13 mile per hour winds. The Niners open up as 6.5-point favorites. They've now moved to 7.5, but it's not a real 7.5. That 7.5 is plus 114, so it's 7. It's really a 7, but Pinnacle's listing the 7.5. This total opened up at 42 and is now 41. Moved to 41 Monday morning at 9 a.m. And I completely understand why the under is being bet. And I would like to get involved in the under. Let's take a look at the cash flow and see if it all correlates with the market move. We have 28,207 tickets in. Sports Insights is giving the 49ers about 15% line value for this. But I don't want the 49ers at this price. 29% of the tickets are on the Bears and 67% of the cash is on the Chicago Bears. Wild. Then you have 41%. Then you have 57% of the tickets on the under and 69% of cash on the under. So you have a reverse line movement on the spread and the market moving towards the under. 49ers are coming off a very strong season. Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch have had a lot of time to build this team. Last year, I was sitting on the 33-1 NFC and 66-1 Super Bowl, and it came really close. This is Trey Lance's team now. They fixed the contract dispute with Deebo Samuel, extremely important. They bring back Jimmy G as a backup with a suitable contract. Deebo had 14 touchdowns last season, 8 rushing, 6 receiving, all-pro tight end George Kittle. Brandon Ayuk ready to take a step forward. Strong backfield with Elijah Mitchell and Trey Sermon. Center Daniel Brunskill expected to be out with a hamstring injury. That hurts Trey Lance in week 1. It's a big point of emphasis for me in this game. He's expected to shift in place of retired center Alex Mack. If he misses week 1, that would mean that the 49ers would have 3 new starters in the interior of their offensive line. They're going to be without 2 starters in their secondary in Verrett and Ward. And I don't want them. but I want the under, and I think they can control the game. Former Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus is the 5th Bears coach in the past 11 seasons, taking over from Matt Nagy. Can the Bears' weak offensive line protect Justin Fields and give him time to succeed? Bosa, Armstead, Kinlaw, Warner are licking their chops. Chicago allowed 58 sacks last year, the most in the league. The Bears will be without one projected starter on the offensive line in Dozier. They could be without another one in Patrick. The team lost their left tackle, Jason Peters. As you know, he's with the Cowboys. Right tackle, Jermaine Ifedi, and right guard, James Daniels, this offseason. Fields, 1,870 yards, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He also ran for 420 yards and 2 touchdowns last season. He was the highest graded quarterback in the preseason. I don't know how much you want to put into that. 8.1 yards per attempt, 7.6 yards per rush, and didn't have a turnover-worthy play. They lost Allen Robertson in the offseason. They have injuries to N'Keal Harry, David Moore, and Tajay Sharp. That's not going to help. They have a strong running game with Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. They tried to improve their secondary by drafting Washington quarterback Kyler Gordon with the 39th pick and defensive back Jaquan Brisker with the 48th pick in the second round. Here we go. The 49ers at the Bears, 1 p.m. Sunday. Let's roll, Andy. What do you think here?
I think the Bears are going to be better than last year in some facets. And that doesn't always mean winning games. Sometimes a team can be better and maybe even lose in more games. But, I mean, there were times where it just felt like the coaching staff, the management, everybody just didn't care. It's like, we're just going to keep rolling out whatever we have, and we'll mail it in till the end of the year. And, I mean, really, really surprised at the offseason. Not really getting any help for the offensive line. It was a bottom 5 offensive line. It will remain a bottom 5 offensive line. It really, maybe some continuity can help, but it's just the ceiling for this offensive line is very, very, very low. That's going to be a problem against pass rushes like this. There are days where the Bears will have good games. I don't know if this is one of them. I guess on the turf maybe slows it down a little, but boy, you named them off. It is a tough front 4, front 7. They are going to get after him. We saw Hurts get hit a million times, Fields. Mix up all my young quarterbacks. I've been talking. I think I tried to trade Hurts for Fields in one league the other weekend and didn't go through. But Fields and Lance in this game, Fields got hit a ton. That's not going to be. It's just not going to be a good matchup in that sense. I have them ranked as I think the 31st best offensive line going forward. The Bears just doing bupkis really, really surprised me. Money coming in on the Niners and the under, even on the road on turf. I don't like this either. Same as you. Basically, if you're betting on the Niners, you're saying, I know more about Trey Lance than the market does. I'm smarter. I know he's going to be good. You could win. You could get lucky, but I don't think anyone knows more about what we're going to get from Trey Lance. We saw some hiccups in his limited time last year. We saw some the opposite of Burrow. I always talk about Burrow and his poise, how he looks like he's been in the league for like 10 years. And Lance was the opposite. We saw some trepidation. We saw some of those rookie hiccups. And I don't think I'm laying 7 points on the road on a rookie quarterback and essentially his first real start. Like, now you've had the camp, you've had the time, we've given you the keys. It's a lot of points to lay on the road with a young quarterback. I see some people mentioning teasers. Not a bad teaser leg, but I will say historically of the 4 ways that you can tease on sides is the home favorite, the home dog, the road favorite, and the road dog. The road favorite is the worst of the 4 over a big sample size. That is the toughest one to get home. And that's true. I did bet the Bears under regular season win total at 6.5 this year. I don't think the Bears get there. But yeah, if you made me bet this, honestly, if there was a 7.5 that appeared at reasonable juice, I'd have to think about that. And I really, really dislike the Bears. So, I mean, it's just so many points on the road for a team that, you're going in with a kind of an unproven quarterback. And honestly, for some of these teams, that's the only thing that matters. There's a lot of teams you see with really good rosters and the quarterback's not there, and they're a 500 team. So it's the most high leverage spot, and it's the biggest unknown on these Niners. So staying away from that for sure for me.
Well, I'm going to load in on the under in this one. It's I
didn't mention the total, but yeah, I mean, everything I just said, if the quarterback play is underwhelming on both sides. I think you could end up with a really ugly, sloppy game in the Midwest. And, you teased yourself a little about getting into the weather too early. Definitely get into the weather. That was a weak spot for me in the past couple of years where I bet a couple totals early. I think I was on the over on the Cleveland Raiders game where there was like a wind tunnel and they scored about 6 points combined. So remind me if we're looking at bad weather. I'm not sure what Chicago's forecast is right now.
It is showers at this point. 70 Fahrenheit, 13 miles per hour wind. I'm going to move on this under. This will be locked in tonight. I should have gone in earlier. That 42 might be helpful, but I'll lock in at 41. That is the Niners, Bears. Let's move on. We move on to Pittsburgh Steelers, 9-7, 3-5 on the road at the Cincinnati Bengals, 10-7, 5-4 at home, Paycor Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio. Scattered thunderstorm, 74 Fahrenheit, 7 miles per hour. I'm excited to talk about the Steelers here. Very excited. I'm very interested in what everybody has to say about this squad, and I think there's money to be made on them. First off, this opened with the Steelers plus 6.5 at minus 105. It's now minus 107. From a total perspective, it opened up at 44.5. At a basic pick'em, there's a tiny bit of money on the under now, or juice, I should say, added juice to the under, 44.5. Let's see where the money is in this Steelers Bengals matchup. 23,315 tickets in. 33% of the tickets and 40% of the cash is on the Steelers. 48% of the tickets and 71% of the cash is on the under. What I was thinking quite a lot about, and I wanted to talk it out before I move, was on a Steelers team total over in this game. Let's just see what is available for me as we speak here. Pull it up. Here we go.
I was trying to do this math in my head. You divide the 44.5 and then add in half the total. And I'm never very good at this on the fly. You should be able to get a 19.5, I would think.
17.5.
Ooh.
Is the number. And not only is it at 17.5, but it's juiced to the under. And I find this extremely appealing, but wanted to talk it out with you guys. Now, in saying all this, Mohammed Joma says Trubisky very underrated. I've never felt that before until this year, until watching Ben play last year. I agree with you. Let's see. But remember, I like this team total over, but we see sharp money on the under, 48% of the tickets, 71% of the cash. Last year, the Bengals swept the Steelers, ran all the way to the Super Bowl. The Steelers only managed 10 points a game against the Bengals last season. Could the Bengals be dealing with the Super Bowl hangover? Last season, the Steelers shocked everybody by beating the Bills in Week 1. Maybe that's playing in my head right now. In the 2 games against the Bengals, Roethlisberger was sacked 7 times. 2017 second overall pick Mitch Trubisky is more than capable of having a stronger year than what we saw from Big Ben. And we do know that it is Kenny Pickett who is the backup quarterback now. They announced that yesterday, I believe. Najee Harris had a giant rookie season, 1,200 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns, caught 74 passes for 467 yards and 3 TDs. Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson lead a strong receiving group. And this looks to be a very strong defense. You have Hayward, Ogunjobi, Alualu up front. You have TJ Watt and Miles Jack. You have Minka Fitzpatrick, Terrell Edmonds, Cameron Sutton, Levi Wallace in a loaded secondary. This is a dangerous defense. Can the Bengals avoid the Super Bowl hangover? Joe Burrow was exceptional last season, 4,611 yards, 34 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins look to continue where they left off last year. Tyler Boyd rounds out this great group. Joe Mixon ran for 1,205 yards and 13 touchdowns. The Bengals strengthened their offensive line in the offseason. They added Alex Kappa and Lyle Collins. This defense blossomed in front of our eyes in the second half of the year. Trey Hendrickson anchors the defensive line with Hubbard, Wyatt Hubert, DJ Reader, and Joseph Osai. Jermaine Pratt, Akeem Davis-Gaither, Logan Wilson and Marcus Bailey lead the linebacking core. Eli Apple resurrected his career. I took so much shit in the chat for saying Eli Apple's playing good football right now, and people went off on me. He is listed as questionable for week 1. Chidobe Awuzie, Von Bell, Jesse Bates, Trey Flowers are big parts of the secondary. I can't wait to hear your breakdown. I'm really excited about this football game. Take it away, Andy. Steelers, Bengals.
Yeah, same kind of thing as I mentioned. You get a divisional game like this, you're going to see some under money, you're going to see some dog money. That's just kind of how these things roll. And that's a little bit, not a ton, I guess, is what I'm looking at for line movement. I get it. I was really cold on the Bengals at the beginning of the year. And to be fair, I said, hey, this team could win like 2 games if Burrow doesn't work out. And I bet a Bengals under 2.5 regular season wins all at like a big price. They won more playoff games than that, Jimmy. So that a lot of mud on my face for that one. But what are you going to do? And yeah, the regression thing, people talk about that. It doesn't just automatically happen. A lot of it has to be due to luck. And I really don't know if this is regression proof, almost like recession proof. I don't know if it's regression proof, but man, they have the pieces that work in today's NFL. They have a quarterback that gets it. They have a good passing game. They did fix the offensive line. It's not like they went out and picked up 3 Pro Bowlers, but they picked up 3 pieces that were better than what they had. So this offensive line should improve. I'm actually kind of down on both defenses. I'm a little more bearish on both defenses. There are a bunch of defensive pieces that I like. They have a lot of big names. But again, you go back and look at the Steelers' stats for last year, they were down closer to the middle of the pack in some of the defensive metrics I care about. And it's wild because it just doesn't jive in your brain when you have the defensive player of the year, guy that gets yourself 22.5 sacks. But I don't know that this defense can be wholly effective, holistic, from a holistic standpoint. And the same thing goes for the Bengals. I don't believe in this defense. This offense is what's going to pull it. And honestly, I don't hate Mitch Trubisky if he's used right. If you remember 2018, when they just let the guy be a running quarterback who wasn't asked to do a ton as like a pocket passer at most of the time, that was a fun Bears team. Again, opportunistic defense, but he can play. And I do think you have an upgrade over Big Ben, who couldn't move his feet at all. You said he got sacked 7 times. Well, that's not fair. The guy couldn't pick his feet up. So I think I kind of like this over, and I hate that I do, but this is one I'm going to monitor. If we continue to see some under money in a divisional game like this, if there gets to be a reasonable 44 out there, I love this Bengals offense. And I think the Steelers defense has enough pieces that Mitch Trubisky playing middle of the pack football gets this team to like 20 points. Because honestly, I really like the wide receivers. I like the addition of Pickens and even Najee Harris. And I mean, they force fed him. The poor kid had to run way more than he probably thought he was going to have to last year, but he was pretty effective behind a bad offensive line. That is probably the only knock on this handicap. The Steelers offensive line still not great. Worry about that a little, but Mitch, obviously, even if he had a sprained ankle and a walking boot, I think he's more he's more elusive than what we saw last year from Big Ben.
I agree. There's some talk about the spot here because a lot of people are seeing 18.5s, 19.5s. It's live right now at Bet365, 17.5, and juice to the under. I'm going to move on this. I feel the same way as you. It's the sharps or the bigger bets coming in on the under that has kept me off the full game over. But if I feel that way and I like the dog, I automatically go to that team total for the dog. And I'm going to move on this. So Pittsburgh team total over 17.5 will be bet after the show. And I'll put it all out on Twitter, as I always do with my record every single night. So there you have it. Steelers, Bengals, a possible move for Andy on the over if it drops. And we move on. 1 p.m. Eastern. Philadelphia Eagles 9-8 last year, 6-3 on the road at the Detroit Lions 3-13, 8-1. Oh, that's the road. Why do I have their road numbers for the Eagles? That's my bad. Because we're in Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan for this one, and they won 3 games at home last year. Let's look at the line history first off. These Lions opened up at +4 They're now at plus 3.5. This plus 3.5 at times was juiced to minus 105, minus 106 at Pinnacle. It got up to plus 107 where it looked like it was going to go back to 4. It's at plus 101 right now. From a total standpoint, the over has been hammered here. Opened up at 46.5. It's all the way up to 49. All the way up to 49 at penny. Let's take a look at the cash flow in this Lions game. We have, of all spots on the entire card, Sports Insights is giving the Detroit Lions the highest line value. It's a 40% line value. 21,940 tickets in. 43% of tickets, 61% of cash is on the Detroit Lions at the number. From a total standpoint, 72% of tickets are on the over, and they're not giving us a cash number at this point. Terry Walker says watching Hard Knocks, leaning for the Lions to cover. I think that's playing a role in the Lions' love here, is that they were on Hard Knocks. And we talk about the biases that we develop as cappers, and I talk about them often. I talk about the Undoing Project by Michael Lewis and how much that helped me. I think that anybody who watched Hard Knocks probably likes the Lions more than they should. Not only are the Lions getting love, but the Eagles are getting a ton of love to start the year. They picked up wide receiver A.J. Brown off the Titans. The question is, Jalen Hurts ready to take this team to the next level? Devonta Smith caught for 916 yards, 5 touchdowns in his rookie season. He should add to that this year. The Eagles' defense should improve after drafting defensive tackle Jordan Davis, 13th overall out of Georgia. They added Hassan Reddick, Nakobe Dean. The Eagles beat up on the Lions in Detroit last year, 44-6. Look, I don't care if Dan Campbell is a leader of men. He's going to talk about how they took that loss. You know, I've heard a lot of people talking about how Dan Campbell is a great leader of men, but is he a good football coach? I mean, those are possibly two different things here. One, you can be a great motivator and not be able to dial up the right offense or defense. In that game, the Eagles ran the ball down the Lions' throat. 236 yards, 4 touchdowns. They ran 46 times. 46 out of 62 plays, they ran the ball. The Lions are bringing back mostly the same group from last year. Is what the continuity of Dan Campbell's third year at the helm going to make this team relevant? Their defense allowed an NFL worst 27.47 points per game. Second overall pick, Aiden Hutchinson, will be a force off the edge right away. Michael Brockers joins him on the opposite edge. Look, that could be a very dynamic combo. The secondary allowed the most opponent yards per attempt at 7.6. On offense, Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift are healthy. They're ready to show out on an improved offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught 90 passes for 912 yards. He scored a touchdown 5 of his final 6 games last year as a rookie. The Lions' offensive line is strong and should give Goff protection to utilize his weapons. I can't wait to hear your breakdown of this one. Take it away, Andy. Eagles-Lions.
Yeah, this is NFL gambling Twitter's 2 favorite children, and they are pitted against each other in week 1. So I guess somebody's going to be right and, strutting around like a peacock. I told you the Lions were good. I told you the Eagles are going. But yeah, I think it's easier for me to like the Eagles as just overall as a project, just what they did. It is a stellar roster, and it's another one of those where, and I think you could probably throw San Francisco in that mix, definitely Baltimore, but sometimes people forget how good of a team was when they do suffer some bad injury luck. Like, man, this is a good roster coming back. We have Jalen Hurts with a little more experience under his belt. We have, we bring in essentially what could be a top 5 wide receiver if things work out. You have the running backs. You have most of the defense. The offensive line, a little bit of some question marks there. Some of those guys are a little longer in the tooth, but it should be a very good team. But again, they are asking us to bet on a favorite on the road, which is so tough. I mean, you look at that, the average, I think we sussed it out to about 1.8. So let's just call it 2 points on average. So you're saying on a neutral field, Philadelphia is, straight up 6 points better than Detroit. That's probably pretty fair. I think this number is pretty fair, and I get the over money. I'm tempted, even though I got into it late, to bet this over anyway. I like everything about this Philly offense, and there are things to like about Detroit. I think they have some good receivers. I guess it's not the Goff's not the worst thing ever. He is serviceable if you use him properly, as we've seen when we had some decent Goff years out on the coast. But I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like Shark. I think they have a good enough tight end in Hawkinson. Like this is, and I mean, just DeAndre Swift as a member of not only the rushing, but the passing game as well. I think they have enough pieces to make this offense go, but they're going to be asking a lot of this defense, and it's still pretty young in spots. Like there's going to be some problems in the secondary here. Like it's still early on for the Jeff Okudah experience, and I think the secondary is still liable to get burnt here and there. So I get the over, and that's definitely where I'd lean, even at what is now the worst of the number.
Yeah, God, I can understand Dennis Garcia taking the under win total in both of these teams, because there's so much love for both of these teams, and I don't know if I see it. And also Dennis Garcia on the under on the Eagles, and he loves the Eagles. Drink enhances Dan Campbell done at the end of the season. Wow. All right. There's no official pick for me here in Eagles Lions, and honestly, I don't fully understand the idea that this goes up to 49. I want to see Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown in this offense work. I want to see Jalen Hurts hurt people through the air before I trust that this offense is a fine-fueled machine. All right, that is Eagles, Lions. Let's roll on New England Patriots, 10-7, 6-2 on the road at the Miami Dolphins, 9-8, 6-3 at home last season. We're at Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. As always, isolated thunderstorms in Miami. Doesn't mean anything at this time of year. 88 Fahrenheit, 7 miles per hour. I want to move on the Patriots team total under in this one. That is the plan at this point, but let's talk it out. The Patriots opened up as 2.5-point dogs. They've moved to 3.5. I could have and should have probably got in on the Dolphins at -3. It wasn't even that juiced until about noon today. You could get this at a regular line until noon today. At noon, it moved drastically. It was an 18-cent move at Pinnacle. And then, of course, moved to within 14 minutes of it being like heavily juiced at 3, it moved to 3.5. So if I'm too late on the Dolphins, I don't think I'm too late on the Patriots team total under. And part of the reason why I like it is because this total is surged up to 47 from the 44 opener. And Papa Cult saying days ago could have gotten the 2.5. Yeah, but I don't mind moving on this team total under right now with this total rising. Let's take a look at the cash flow in this one. 19,393 tickets in, 68% of the tickets, 70% of the cash on the fish. And then 40% of the tickets, 59% of the cash on the over. The Dolphins have a very difficult start to this season. Weeks 2 through 4, they face Ravens, Bills, and Bengals. It's imperative that they get the W here. Last year, the Dolphins swept both games from the Patriots. There's a lot of excitement around the fish this year. New head coach Mike McDaniel, superstar receiver Tyreek Hill joining the squad from the Chiefs. They've missed the playoffs 5 straight years. Can Tua Tagovailoa take his game to the next level? I would love to hear Andy's take on that. He needs to be better. Maybe with Tyreek Hill he can be. He also has Jalen Waddle and Cedric Wilson. This team is capable of being very dangerous. Shout out to Cheshire Cat. Thank you so much for the $10 dono, my guy. Respect. And he says, honest question, how do you cap cheaters in the NFL?
You give them an extra half point on the line because they're trying harder.
Okay, Ella, you can say quick hi, but you got to go. Okay, Ella, just come in and say hi. She's going to bed. Okay.
It's bedtime down there.
Okay, please, Ella. Okay, close the door, my love. Have a great night. Okay.
And
they said that when I got a door that this wouldn't be happening, but we're developing an issue with the lock on the door. And I will work that out. Let's stay focused here. He needs to be better, Tua. This team is capable of being very dangerous. Last year, Tua threw for 2,653 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Chase Edmonds comes in from Arizona. Raheem Mostert and Myles Gaskin will help. Departing head coach Brian Flores seemed to get the most out of this defense. Is this capable of happening with Mike McDaniel? On defense, they have Raekwon Davis up front. He had weak numbers against the run. If you look at Pro Football Focus, he had a bad season. Melvin Ingram, Jerome Baker at linebacker. Xavier Ward comes back after intercepting 10 times in 10 interceptions last year. Patriots offense looked abysmal in the preseason. They lose offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. He goes over to the Raiders. They have two defensive-minded failures in Patricia and Joe Judge, co-offensive coordinators. The whole thing is very confusing. Mac Jones had a strong rookie season. Look, I can understand why anyone would trust him. 3,801 yards passing, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Damian Harris ran for 929 yards, 15 touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson was great too, 606 yards, 5 touchdowns. Devontae Parker comes in from Miami. He'll team up with Myers and Bourne. Defensively is where this team is expected to excel. Matthew Judon, we saw how exceptional he was last year. Juwan Bentley, Mac Wilson. Secondary, they're deep. McCourty, Phillips, Duggar, Jabril Peppers. I want this Pats team total under. I can't wait to hear you break this down. Take it away for us, Andy. Patriots, Dolphins.
I had a Mac Jones Rookie of the Year ticket, so I cheered strong. And maybe it's you talk about your biases, and when you have that ticket and you are set to make a bunch of money if it works out, sometimes you think Mac Jones is maybe a little better than he is. And I think that's maybe where I went back and took a look at things, and I was like, damn, they didn't ask him to do very much. I mean, the perfect microcosm of that was the Bills game with the wind where he threw the ball, less than 5 times. So, I mean, it wasn't always that extreme, but they didn't ask him to do a lot often. And now they lose their offensive coordinator of the last decade and are replacing him with a couple head coaches that got fired from their jobs after they left, who were a defensive coordinator and a special teams guy. So I have no idea what is going on in New England. Maybe just like the kids, Jimmy, we're putting this dynasty to bed. It's done. Like if this is truly what we're going to roll out instead of, because this is how it's worked. Bill Belichick is just a really good coach, great leader. He gets buy-in. He obviously, if you want to go down that route, he's just ahead of the curve on as far as cheating. That helps too. But like he always had this, great coordinators, especially on the offensive side. And we'll see how that turns out. It's not what you want in this second year, this developmental year for your young quarterback. It's like they're setting him up to fail. So I'm really, really, really low on this Patriots offense. And I get it. I've seen the Miami money come in today. Man, there's about 25 other teams I would have loved to steam up a line with, but I'm not a Tua believer. He has so many things to fix in his mechanisms, and I guess it could be a thing where maybe he's, it's been long enough since that hip injury. I've read articles about that hip injury and just how long it takes to really get everything back in place because it's all just part of your core and your throwing motion. Maybe Tua takes this big step forward. They've certainly built around him. If he sucks, they have absolutely screwed the pooch because they spent a bunch of money. They spent a bunch of assets. They put a lot of pieces around him, and they better have a plan B because they have a good team, and it can be a great team if he takes a step forward. I'm not a believer. I haven't seen it. I don't know what would change with him for him to be great. So I'm wanting to fade the Patriots here, but I don't believe enough in Tua to do it.
Yeah, and at 3.5, I can understand hesitating, but this Pats team total under is sitting at 20.5. It's slightly juiced to the under, and I want in on it. What do you think of the Pats team total under?
Yeah, I don't hate that. I don't know if he's referring to Cheshire Cat's referring to Bailey Zappi. Like Bailey Zappi, I have a Rookie of the Year ticket on him and a big old number, hoping that Mac Jones just stinks. None of the other quarterbacks play, but and it's tough to fade this team. But yeah, that might be a look. This defense is going to be good. and it has like all the names you mentioned. There's a lot of good players, but sometimes it feels like this defense does start slow in the season, but man, by the middle of the season, it's usually humming right along. What a pickup of Judon the other year. That worked out great. So I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I lean towards this under, but generally staying away. And I don't hate your look. I like that. Like I said, I'm fading the Patriots. I lean towards the under. So I guess I'm kind of on the same page as you here.
I'm going to be moving on that this evening. It's not 47 at all booked, 46.5 where I'm at, but I'm going to move on that team total under 20.5 for the Patriots. It's going to be my move. All right, let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Baltimore Ravens 8-9 last year, 3-5 on the road. The New York Jets 14-13, 3-6 at home. We're at MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Mostly cloudy, 80 Fahrenheit, 6 miles per hour. And the big story here for Jose Bouquet's Jets is that Zach Wilson, who just had knee surgery 3 weeks ago, could be starting. The market tells us that he's not starting. It opened at 5.5 for the Jets. The Jets are now +7. From a total perspective, it opened up at 45. There's been a 3-cent move to the under. It did drop to 44. It was at 44 for, I guess, a day, but it's back at 45. Let's move over to the cash flow, and shout out to Cheshire Cat for that second dono. Thanks for caring about us, my man. It means a ton to us. Let's go over to the cash flow in this Ravens spot here. 29,960 tickets in. 15% of the tickets, 20% of the cash on the Jets. 52% of tickets on the under, but there's no cash for us to talk about here at Sports Insight. So the Ravens were decimated by injuries last season. They were 8-3 before things fell apart. They failed to make the playoffs for the first time since 2017. They fired defensive coordinator Wink Martindale after the season ended. That Baltimore defense ranked 25th in the league last season, allowed the second most yards at 363.4 in the storied franchise history. Well, storied franchise, that's actually bullshit. 26-year history. They replaced Wink with Mike McDonald, who was the defensive coordinator for the Michigan Wolverines last season. They drafted Notre Dame safety Kyle Hamilton, 14th overall, to help the secondary. They still have Lamar Jackson's contract negotiations. I don't know if you would say that's hanging over the squad. He may miss Hollywood Brown and Sammy Watkins, but he has Mark Andrews, who caught for 1,361 yards, 9 touchdowns last year. We talked about whether Zach Wilson is going to go. Is Zach Wilson going to go, or will it be Joe Flacco? The Jets made a lot of noise in the draft. They had 3 first-round draft picks. Cincinnati cornerback Ahmad Sauce Gardner, their top pick at number 4. At number 10, Joe Douglas drafted Ohio State's Garrett Wilson, a wide receiver. At 26, Florida State defensive end Jermaine Johnson. The Jets weren't done either. They opened up day 2, making a big trade to get Iowa State running back Breece Hall. Wilson will have Elijah Moore at wide receiver to help, but the oft-injured Mekhi Becton not going to start the season on the field on the injured reserve. And Joe Douglas was all over the place. Off-season free agents, Laken Tomlinson, Jordan Whitehead, CJ Uzoma, Tyler Conklin, DJ Reed. It's, and then the Ravens running game is dealing with injuries, tons of injuries, as always. J.K. Dobbins, knee injury, doubtful. Gus Edwards dealing with a knee injury. This Jets defense was ranked 29th in rushing yards against, 32nd in rushing touchdowns against. But do the Ravens have the players to take advantage of that? Take it away for us here, Andy, Ravens, Jets.
Yeah, you really, really set me up on a tee there. Like, it's a bad rushing defense. It probably will be a bad rushing defense. It was a roster with a lot of holes, and they tried to address what they can, but it's a multi-year rebuild. And especially you're in the midst of having to evaluate a rookie quarterback. And currently at this point, again, Tuesday night, don't know. It could be Flacco. Honestly, if I'm betting the Ravens, I'd rather see Wilson, especially a Wilson if he's not 100%. Give me that all day long. I think Flacco having to deal with Flacco here and there without seeing him, week in, week out, even though, there's plenty of tape on the guy, but man, I'd way rather face Wilson, I guess, which doesn't really say much on my opinion for Zach Wilson at this point in his career. He was pretty bad last year. I guess we'll get one more year to evaluate him. The fill-in spots you talked about, Sauce Gardner, love Sauce Gardner, but I hate rookie cornerbacks. I hate rookie defensive players almost in general. They always seem to struggle, especially in the secondary, to try to acclimate to, NFL speed, NFL schemes, NFL offenses. It's a big ask. So I'm really, really cold on the Jets. That's not like some hot take. Their win total is 5.5. But again, kudos to you guys who bet the Ravens early. Like if you got a 4.5, 5.5, whatever, it is up to 7. And again, that is a ton of points to lay on the road, especially for a team who has basically no wide receivers. They're going to ask a rookie who was hurt last year pretty much. I want to say like 3/4 of the year, at least half, to be your wide receiver one. And then you have Devin Duvernay's your second. Yeah, again, you have a great tight end. And apparently it doesn't matter who you have at running back. You're just going to make that work with the scheme. And you have a dynamic quarterback who is healthy. He was banged up. He missed part of the year last year. Like, I really think this is a slog where it's like Baltimore wins, like 21-0, just on 3 long drives predicated on running. This could be an ugly one. I want to watch the weather in New York for this one too. If we get any sort of wind, boy howdy, I would like a Raven. Again, it's a road favorite, which is the worst way to go with teasers. But if you miss the best of the number, this is not a bad teaser to have in your pocket if you think anything of this Baltimore Ravens squad. And I do. I think the coaching staff is good. I like the replacement at coordinator. I think this defense is going to step up a little. It's just the really big worry is it's 2022. They're constantly changing rules to make the passing game work better and, result in high scoring games with a lot of passing action. And you don't have any wide receivers. Like, you really, really don't. So this is going to be a Lamar Jackson year, I guess, if you want the Ravens to be good. And yeah, for me, probably a teaser leg.
Well, they're talking about whether it should be a teaser leg in the chat. Slatsy asking you, would you consider the Ravens in a teaser? And the answer is yes.
Yeah. And again, some of that comes down to, do I believe in this defense? Do I believe in it, especially when it's a favorite and you need them they have to win the game by, 1 or more essentially here. Do I believe they're a team that can come back? That's the sketchy part, is if things go pear-shaped, they end up down by 10 or something, because bad teams end up winning all the time. It's the NFL parity. Lots of things happen. Like, I don't like this kind of team to come from behind because they don't have the passing game to do it. So that's what's scaring me off this. And again, from earlier in the show when I talked about my Rams teaser, there's a different purple team I'm much more excited about putting them with.
I feel like this is just dialing up for an under. If Lamar Jackson can't, what are your expectations of Salah's Jets defense this year in his second year at the helm?
Probably some improvement, but I just don't know if you have, I don't know if you have enough players yet. And again, so it's why you see some of these secondary pieces when they come in as a rookie. It's really hard because everything you do is reactionary. As a wide receiver, go run your routes, make your cuts, make them adjust to you. As a quarterback, go call the plays, run them. Again, I make it sound easy, but being a defensive player as a young man, a rookie in the league, it is very difficult unless you're just a go get 'em pass rusher, like go kill the quarterback. You don't react to anybody. So, I mean, it's tough to say the pieces that they brought in are going to make huge differences. And I get that they went and got some other pieces too, but I just don't see Sauce making a big year one splash. Some of the linebacker they took later in the first round, Jermaine Johnson, same thing. And then I'm not a Breece Hall guy. I don't know. People like him. I'm not keen on him. Although if they force feed him, you can see a bad line, a bad team get yardage. I mean, for fantasy purposes, Najee Harris, like you said earlier, he had 1,600 yards last year. That team wasn't good. They still managed to get him enough yardage. So maybe that's what they do with Breece Hall with a lack of help elsewhere. But I'm kind of out on the Jets, and I'm tentatively hopeful for the Ravens. It feels like they have a smart coaching staff and they know, hey, yeah, our wide receivers suck. We're not dumb. We have something up our sleeve. So I'm kind of like Cheshire said, it's the most exciting quarterback possibly. what kind of offense are we going to see from this team? So I'm kind of staying away from the Ravens early in the season.
The under is going. I'm going to move on this under. We're almost. So we have how many more 1 p.m.? We got a few more 1 p.m. games left, and then we'll go over all the 1 p.m. action. But I'll be interested to see when you pull the trigger on your first official Gridiron Gamblers play here for us, Andy. The under is a move for me in Baltimore, New York. Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm excited to talk about this one. Jacksonville Jaguars, 3-14 last year, 0-8 on the road at the Washington Commanders, 7-10, 4-5 on the road. We're at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. And I'm excited to talk about it because Birdie in our chat, great football cappers, very high on these Commanders. 79 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 8 miles per hour is the wind. I see the Jaguars getting a ton of love, and I would like to bet against them. Let's talk about the line movement first and foremost, and then we'll talk about the cash. And here we go. Jags, Commanders. The Jags opened up at +4. Now they're +2.5. Getting a lot of love. From a total perspective, it opened up at 43.5 as a pick'em. It's now juiced to the over, but still at 43.5. Let's go over to the cash flow in this one. We have 15,648 tickets in. 65% of the tickets and 90% of the cash is on Jacksonville. I guess that should be enough just to keep me off of it. I guess.
Yeah, they're getting some love. Jacksonville is getting love in the market, and not only that, but like in the season-long markets too. And some of it, I think, is just that dead cat bounce off of an Urban Meyer season where, I mean, just we don't have enough time in the day to go through all the shit he did, man. It was just an utter disaster under everything there, and it sucks because you probably lost a nice developmental year for what was supposed to be this can't miss first round overall top pick, and hopefully it's a good spot. And somebody brings this up. This is another leg that I think I will probably have this one with I don't know which one I'm going to double dip on, but this is a teaser leg that I will use. I will put this I'll make this an official play, and once I find the one that's going to go with it, I think I'm double dipping on the Vikings, honestly. Spoiler alert, but now that we're at this spot, I'm absolutely fine taking the road dog here in what should be, somebody called it a bum fight. Yeah, a couple of people called it a bum fight. Ugly game. And this is another one. It doesn't matter what Washington has. Yes, they have some nice pieces on defensive line. Yeah, they have McLaurin. They have not Gibson anymore, but they have an okay nucleus. But man, the Carson Wentz experience has been rough for a while now. And not only that, but I mean, he only went 1-1 against the Jags last year with a much better team and really struggled in both games. They were this was not a good matchup for him, and nobody was a good matchup for Carson Wentz. I can't believe that's what we're rolling out. Honestly, I feel bad for the team that you get a brand new name and you decide Carson Wentz is what you want to do with that year. So hopefully we see Howell at some point, or God, anything Heineke, because Carson Wentz was a liability that a good coaching staff worked around last year. Like, you could see it. He was being worked around. Like, we can't let him mess this up. And then he still would at times with some just egregious turnovers. So I don't want to bat the Jaguars, especially at a depressed price here, but it is a teaser leg that I think, no matter what happens, this game ends up a low scoring affair where somebody wins by about a touchdown.
See,
the commies.
I'm with the guys in the chat here. I just think there's too much love. DX5 says, I think the public is a little too in love with the Jags and new coach because you can only go up after Urban, but they are still going to be bad. And there's an idea that Doug Peterson knows how to defend Carson Wentz. All that being said, I'm shocked at this love for the Jaguars. And yeah, it's good that Peterson came in and got Urban Meyer. I mean, had to be one of probably the worst coaching tenure in NFL history. Peterson was 51-34-1 in Philly, 4-2 in the postseason, won a Super Bowl. But the Jags have lost 35 of their last 41 games. You have Lawrence come in, 12 touchdown passes, 17 picks, 5 fumbles, a passer rating of 71.9. That was only ahead of Zach Wilson. Last in the league in scoring, 27th in yards. The defense was 28th in points allowed, 20th in yards. Now, we all know the story of Doug Peterson and his ability to get the most out of quarterbacks. And, they bring in Christian Zirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Brandon Scherf to protect them. I don't dislike any of these moves. And surprisingly, James Robinson going to be back after 9 months after tearing his Achilles, and Travis Etienne capable of a breakout season after missing all of last year. Trayvon Walker capable of forming a strong linebacking duo with Josh Allen. But you're after working with us for a long time, you're going to recognize some of the names in the chat. Dennis Garcia is a very talented capper. And listen to this is what he's doing, Andy. Washington -2.5 week 1. Washington over 7.5 wins. Washington to win the division. Washington to win the Super Bowl. And he's already on Washington -1 in week 2 at Detroit. Now, there was talk in the chat about Brian Robinson Jr., the 3rd-round draft pick out of Alabama, shot in the attempted carjacking. He's going to be unavailable. You mentioned McLaurin. To me, there's 3 excellent seasons in the NFL, averaging 1,030 yards. I mean, he had some pretty weak quarterbacks throwing him the ball. First-round pick, Jan Dotson out of Penn State will help the receiving core, as will Curtis Samuel. Antonio Gibson coming off a 1,037-yard season. He can be better. Logan Thomas, continuing to recover from knee injury. Chase Young still recovering from the ACL. But that front 7, Jerome Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat should be strong. So what do you think about the love here? Because it seems like we know 90% of the cash is on the Jaguars in the betting market, but the cappers in the chat seem to be high on Washington. Do you think that's misguided? Who do you have to win the East here between the Commanders, Cowboys, and Giants?
I'm an Eagles believer. I just think that roster is talented enough to, maybe not take them to the heights some people think they are, but that division might be a little more of a rock fight than we posed it to be, and not to the extent that we saw a couple of years ago where everybody had a losing record, but I think it's a bit of a rock fight, and it might be your 4 seed. Honestly, the NFC North honestly could have a say in that too, though. But I do have Philly winning that division, especially if Dallas is going to be bitten by the injury bug like this right away. Man, I had high hopes for that offense. Once it finally all comes together, it doesn't look like it's happening. But it's one of those things where I believe in teams, but I really need a quarterback to put it all together. I love the front 7. I love Chase. I love a lot of things this defense does, but at this point, I'm not going to back a team for the long haul, even though it is a weak NFC. So if you're going to take a long shot, I'd way rather do it in the NFC to win the conference, to win the Super Bowl, because I think it's a lot easier path to wade through these playoffs than in the absolutely stacked AFC. So I don't hate that look. I'm wrong about teams every year, but boy, I'm not keen on a team doing anything of substance with Carson Wentz at the helm.
I think this is just too low. So then if I give you a free $500 bet at 2.5 in this game, you're on the Jags?
I'd go Jags money line. I'd never bet a 2.5. Yeah. I often, again, if it's under 3, I'd just straight up dog money line. But you have bum fight. This is a true bum fight where, again, I like it because at this point now it's a long teaser. And I will say, all the love in the market, I don't know if that really means a ton, but the fact that, limits are not fully up, but at respectable books, you can put $25K on this game. And the fact that limits are a little bit higher, not all the way up to where we see them come Wednesday, Thursday, and it took a big move today. It wasn't public money. It was respectable money, I think, that made the move today. So I guess that means something. I don't know if it means anything long-term. Sometimes it's not a Jags bet. It's a Commanders fade, I guess, at that point. We'll find out what the market thinks of these two teams next year. or excuse me, next week. Then we can maybe get a little more of a read on, what some of the sharper money thinks of these two. But yeah, DX Flyer, I wouldn't put 25 cents in this game. Yeah, straight up, this is a tough one to bet.
Well, let's move on to a wild one. 1 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Cleveland Browns 8-9, 2-6 on the road at Carolina Panthers 5-12, 2-6 at home. Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. We've scattered thunderstorms, 77 Fahrenheit, 5 miles per hour. Oh, I already had that up. So here we go. Line history in this one. The Panthers open up as 1.5-point home favorites. They're now 2.5 points, or really two, because right now there has been an 8-cent move towards the Browns today. So it's if at Pinnacle, if you wanted the Panthers minus 2.5, you get plus 108 on that. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 41.5 as a pick'em. It's now 41.5, but quite heavily juiced to the over. So there's been a 10-cent move to that over. Let's take a look at the line history in this Browns spot. Brissett for Mayfield, 18,611 tickets in. They give slight line value, I'd say 15% line value to the Panthers. 78% of the tickets, 93% of the cash is on the Panthers. And I think people are taking this whole Ravenga from Mayfield a little too far. 65% of the tickets, 70% of the cash is on the under. Mayfield will start against his former squad. He's got a healthy Christian McCaffrey for now to work with. Wide receiver DJ Moore, only receiver in the NFL to finish in the top 10 in receiving each of the last 3 years, but there's not a lot of strength behind him. Robbie Anderson, 1,096 yards receiving in 2020, dropped to 519 last year. They need one of Terrace Marshall Jr., Rashard Higgins, Laviska Shenault, or Shai Smith to step up. It's not a strong group at tight end with Tommy Tremble and Ian Thomas. The Panthers still had the 20th ranked rush offense in the NFL last season. That was without McCaffrey. Things will be more difficult for Mayfield with Bradley Bozeman, their starting center, out. Derek Brown, Shaq Thompson, J.C. Horn, and Jeremy Chin returned to the defense. The secondary added Xavier Woods from the Vikings, brought over C.J. Henderson last season from the Jags. They were 21st in points allowed. With Deshaun Watson suspended for the first 11 games of the season, Jacoby Brissett will start week 1. Last year for the Dolphins, he got into 11 games, started 5 of them. Threw for 1,283 yards, 62.7% completion, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Amari Cooper is a big pickup. They drafted David Bell out of Purdue. Nick Chubb is top 5 running back. Kareem Hunt still in the backfield, even though he requested a trade. He didn't get one. Their defense should be tough. They're deep at corner. Ward, Newsom. I know that Newsom is questionable. Greedy Williams, Martin Emerson, A.J. Green. At safety with John Johnson, Delpit, and Harrison. And the edge rushers, Garrett and Clowney, combined for 29 sacks. Do you believe in this whole revenge storyline here, Andy? Take it away, Browns, Panthers.
No, I've never been a big revenge guy. It's a fun one. Like, it's a fun narrative. It's fun for the game. And boy, man, this has been maybe the most bet summer game, or however you want to call it, early line game. Like, people are piling on this as soon as it was up, saying, there's going to be a suspension coming down, and I'm going to bet on Carolina now. And some of those people got a better number, I guess. But at the same point, nothing. It never moved outside of the zone between the threes, so it's about a horse apiece for me. And I did like some of the things Carolina did in the offseason. Maybe I guess we'll see how the Baker thing works. And also the Bozeman may play. I'm not sure. That was kind of a hit when he got injured here in the preseason, because they addressed their biggest issue. Like, their offensive line was rough. They got Ike Ekwonu. They brought in some other pieces. Like you said, the center Bozeman. They brought in another guard. Was it Corbett? So, I mean, they did the whole thing like, I can't remember the last team we were talking about. Bring in 3 new pieces, fix a big area of weakness. And honestly, maybe even if we don't get the best of Baker Mayfield, I'm really out on the Sam Darnold thing. It was really good for 3 weeks, against like 3 really, really horrible teams. And then you get to see what Sam Darnold is going to bring you for like a full season. So I don't blame him for moving. And now I think Darnold is probably out for most of the season, or at least a good chunk at the beginning with the injury anyway. So he doesn't have that to worry about, I guess, if you're Baker and you think he's a little bit weak behind the ears, which I kind of do. He's a bit of a head case, I think, but I've seen him play well. He played through a ton of injuries on a very talented team. I don't quite know what happened last year in Cleveland, but he has enough upside, I think, to play well. And DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Terrence, you have some good receivers down there. And you got a running back, probably the best running back in the league, if you just want to say overall player, overall, boon to your offense. And he's going to get hurt probably, but he's not hurt yet. You have him for week 1. So I tend to like, and as much as I don't like to bet in these early ones with so uncertainty, I kind of tend to like this over because I don't think Jacoby Brissett's bad by any means. This will be one of the best situations he's ever been put in from hey, here's a really good, possibly the best offensive line in the league. Here's the best 1-2 running back in the league and some pretty decent receivers and probably what we feel to be a good coaching staff. So I don't think Brissett is bad. They have a rough schedule. He's going to have some hiccups because they play some very tough teams. But in games like this, I think he's going to be able to command this offense. And I'm gonna. Should we make it a first play as an ugly one?
I do think we could.
Real ugly low total like this, and I'm taking it over. This was one that sketched me out for a while, but I mean, most of the early betting was on the side. I'm going to take an over 41.5 here.
Over 41.5. That's at minus 115 right now at Pinnacle. Let's see what I can get you over at Circa. We do try to find, and it's moved to 42 over there. So let's get you that 41.5. We will let me know if anybody in the chat. I'll check out a couple other books, but if anybody can find that with less vig, let us know. But Andy is on the board. His first official Pub Sports Radio play is the over 41.5 in Cleveland, Carolina. It sounded like you were close to moving on Carolina as well.
Yeah, I did. I do like what they've done, but at the same time, there's still some question marks, and some of those question marks are on defense. That's why I do think Jacoby Brissett can have a decent game. Keith Wicks Jr. says Brown's another good teaser option. They are yet another one. I may have to take some smaller money and play a boatload of teasers this week. Just kind of round robin all the small ones. So, yep, I found a minus 110 at BetChris / whatever you want to call it.
Cool. Yeah, and, so the guys in the chat, they found one at Bookmaker 365 as well. Andy is locked in over 41.5 at minus 110 in Browns Panthers. All right, let's roll on. Andy's on the board. 1 p.m. Eastern. Indianapolis Colts 9-8, 5-3 on the road last year. The Houston Texans 4-13, 2-7 at home. Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. I don't know how Lovie Smith keeps getting opportunities. He must be the greatest guy in the world.
Good interviewer.
He must be just fucking the kindest, most loving, friendly, hilarious, charismatic guy, because he gets jobs and does not deserve them. Colts, Texans. Let's look at the line history here. We have the Texans open up at +8 at minus 105. They're now +8 at minus 124. I don't think this is a belief in Houston. I think it's people not believing in the Colts, especially in week 1, where they have these ridiculous, horrific week 1 numbers in their last 12 years. This total opened up at 44. It's now up to 46. Open at 44, up to 46. Here we go. The Colts are 1-11 straight up and against the spread in week 1. That's dating back 12 years, obviously. Frank Reich, 0-4 in week 1. Straight up and against the spread in his tenure at Indianapolis. The Colts will start their 5th different starting quarterback in the last 5 years, and this time it's 37-year-old Matt Ryan. Let's take a look at the cash in this one. 26,896 tickets in. 51% of the tickets and 92% of cash is on the Texans. Wild. I guess this goes down to 7 by kickoff.
There's places hanging 7 now. It's and again, I don't know if it's full belief in the Texans, but there's places that are 7 flat both sides. Wow. I don't quite make heads or tails of it. I like Davis Mills at times last year. He felt like he was very serviceable. but I really, really, really hate betting on this game. Again, hey, here's a bunch of points you got to lay on the road in a divisional game with a brand new quarterback. And he's not brand new by any means in the league, but coming into a new system, you lay a bunch of points on the road against a divisional foe. That never feels good. And then on the other hand, it's like you're betting on the Houston Texans with a guy who his last stint was leading Illinois to like a 30% win clip. Like, the game may have passed Lovie Smith by at this point, at least from a head coaching standpoint. I'm not sure what we're going to get from an offensive game plan. It sounds like they are going to lean heavily on the young rusher down there, Pierce, but it's tough. And they've already had bad luck. Like, they drafted a rookie receiver with a high-ish pick, and he ended up having some health issues. He's out for the season. So this offense probably destined to stink a little, and they just don't have the good star players in the right spots. Like, hey, you have a great left tackle, but your quarterback might have just been a little bit of a flash in the pan against some bad teams last year. Like, Davis Mills played good, but some of it was bad competition and some of it was garbage time scores. So I don't believe in Houston, and I want no part of this game because I'm certainly not laying it with the Colts team right now.
Well, for me, I'm with the betting public here. It's the Texans or no bet, and the over or no bet. Let's start. I would like to hear your thoughts on what Matt Ryan's going to do, because there's nice pieces around him. Jonathan Taylor, a beast. 1,169 yards, 11 touchdowns his rookie year. Follows that up with 1,811 yards and 18 touchdowns. Last year, Michael Pittman Jr. caught 1,082 yards, 6 touchdowns. And Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly on the offensive line are very good. The Colts secondary, though, will look very different this year. Xavier Rhodes left in free agency. Rocky Sin was traded. Backup TJ Carey left in free agency. Cornerback Kenny Moore is still there. They bring in Stephon Gilmore. And then Andrew Sendejo, free agency. Kerry Willis retired. George Odom, free agency. Jaleel Addae, free agency, are now gone. The only starter there is Julian Blackmon from that group. And Matt Eberflus is now the Bears head coach. And here comes Gus Bradley. How's Gus Bradley still working?
Yeah. I defended him on a different show once too. I'm like, he could do worse, but that's not exciting. That's not what you want to be doing there. And yeah, on paper, looks like a real good team. I feel like there's probably a little bit of a break-in period for Matt Ryan. If he gets it right away, they might just win by 20, but not with my money.
Well, Davis Mills, you spoke of, because he had that nice 5-game run, to finish off the season. I mean, Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, and tight end Brevin Jordan. He's got a really good offensive line: Kenyon Green, Laramie Tunsil, Titus Howard, Justin Britt. On defense, you spoke already about rookie corners, and they got 3rd overall pick out of LSU, Derek Stingley. They got safety Jalen Petrie in the 2nd round out of Baylor, and veteran Jerry Hughes comes over. The Bills' front seven's so weak. I think I've just talked myself into the over in this spot. Am I too late to the party is the question. It's gone from 44 to 46.
Honestly, and too, like I talked about with Mills, like maybe Mills is a good garbage time quarterback, like old garbage time Mitch. If this ends up being a Colts blowout, I don't think Texans are the kind of team who just packs it in and runs. So I don't hate that, but yeah, it has taken some steam along with that Houston line today.
Yeah,
and honestly, at a certain point, I mean, some stats and trends are stupid. Like, hey, this team's X and X against this team. Some of those games were in the 60s. You're gonna really put stock in that. But when a coach can't get a game won, not even one, I think he was favorite in 3 out of those 4 openers. One was basically a pick 'em. Is there something to Reich not starting the season out strong, just not being able to prep for week 1 right? I don't know. That's eventually you got to start worrying. There's some signal there.
Wow. So you kind of had me thinking, if the Colts start out quickly against this Texans team, the Colts are just going to slow the game down completely in the second half and just let Jonathan Taylor run the ball, even though there could be some offense from Davis Mills late because the Texans will keep trying. But would that lean you to would you prefer a first half over then if you were going to move on the over?
Maybe that's if you could get like a 23.5 there.
Yeah, I'm going to see what I'm being.
The Colts come out strong, especially if the Colts build up some sort of lead and just turn into, we're going to feed Hines, going to feed Taylor, going to run. And if the Texans still can't get anything done, you might be howling mad when this ends up like 42-3.
Well, I'm in. First half over 23. Weak defenses and susceptible ones. I like this. We talked it out. This was not a plan. It is now going to be part of my action. First half over 23. Slightly juiced to the over in the first half. Prince of the City says we still on this game. Yes, we'll move on from Colts, Texans, and Energy Stadium. That's the 1 p.m. games. Those are all the 1 p.m. games. So we move into afternoon action. We start at 4:25 p.m. Eastern. New York Giants 4-13, 1-8 on the road at the Tennessee Titans, 12-5, 7-2 at home at Nissan Stadium, Nashville, Tennessee. Scattered thunderstorms, 79 Fahrenheit, 7 miles per hour. Let's take a look at the line history in this one. Daniel Jones, fucking bum. This opened up with the Giants plus 6.5. They're now plus 5.5. Is that people believing in the Giants or not believing in the Titans? I think it's people not believing in the Titans. This total opened up at 43.5. There's been a 2-cent move to the over. Let's take a look at the cash flow in this Titans spot. 21,575 tickets in. Listen to this. 49% of the tickets on the Giants and 92% of the cash. Wow. 60% of tickets on the over. They don't have a cash count at this point. Harold Williams is on the Titans minus 5.5. Topset says you already heard my Tennessee play. Can you refresh my memory, Topset, if you don't mind? Hit me with that one more time. All right. So the Brian Daboll era begins in New York, and Daboll and Mike Kafka. Mike Kafka will be calling the plays. Can Daniel Jones step up in his fourth year? I would bet against it. Last year, he was very underwhelming. Saw action in 11 games, threw for 2,420 yards, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Speaking of underwhelming, Saquon Barkley, 13 games. He rushed for 593 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's 9 touchdowns less and 714 yards less than his rookie season. Kenny Golladay leads the receiving group. 2021 first-round draft pick Ladarius Toney needs to give him more. The Giants secondary is not good. This offseason, they lost Bradbury, Logan Ryan, Jabril Peppers. Cornerback Adoree Jackson is strong, but now Wink Martindale gets another opportunity. The offensive line is dealing with injuries. Shane Lemieux's on IR with a toe injury. Center guard Mike Gates and top swing tackle Matt Peart are out. Sterling Shepard is not ready to start the year. On defense, Kayvon Thibodeau and safety Dane Belton are questionable. The Giants struggled against the run last year, 25th in rushing yards against. Now Derrick Henry is going to run all over him or capable of running all over him. The Giants linebacking core is weak. Now to the Titans, massive changeover in their receiving core. A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Chester Rogers, and Anthony Firks are all gone. If you look at week 1 last year, those were the 4 leading receivers, replaced by Robert Woods coming off an injury, Treylon Burks, and Nick Westbrook Akine. That's not a good group. Tannehill has Eric Henry to fall back on, but Henry, 8 games last year, 117.1 yards per game, 10 touchdowns. The Titans won't have Harold Landry, 16 sacks in 18 games last year. He's gone for the year with a torn ACL. Before Landry's injury, which is now a huge question mark. I mean, they have
that
Autry.
sucks.
It hurts. They still have Autry and Tart up front, but that hurts. They have Cunningham and Dupree at linebacker. But the real issue was their secondary, or really cornerback. They had the 2021 first-round pick Caleb Farley and 2022 second-round pick Roger McCreary competing to see who's going to be opposite Christian Fulton. They have Amani Hooker at safety. I guess what just happened after talking this out was I have interest in the under. I'm
glad you said that.
I'd love to hear
that because you start looking at positional matchups. You picked on the secondary, and I think both secondaries you picked on. Well, the Titans have a really weirdly revamped kind of wide receiving group that I don't know if I can believe in yet. We got a guy coming off an injury, you got a rookie, and you got Westbrook Akine. They don't like to throw the ball. They like to run on first down. They like to run on second down. So, hey, here's a team with a weakness. You're not going to take advantage of it because that's not your MO. And then the same thing on the other side is the Giants actually don't have bad receivers, especially if Tony can take a step forward. But I really don't believe in Daniel Jones. And I think he's going to be a big problem for this team. So despite the problems for both defenses, I have big reservations with both offenses, and I will be kind of this is nothing yet. I'm waiting to see if we can get some movement on here because I don't have a big difference between 43 and 43 and a half. But if this takes any over money, I will be absolutely buying back on 44. I'm kind of waiting for that. Shopping around a little on that. It looks like where I want to be betting right now is 43 and a half flat. I'm not sure. There just hasn't been movement in this market. So bit of a smaller play. If it gets to game time and I can't get a 44, I probably still will take a little bit on this 43 and a half. And God, it's going to be this could be an ugly one. I hope.
Yeah, I think it's going to be as well. I'm surprised, but I initially liked the Giants in this spot, but after talking it out, I don't want them. What are your expectations of Daboll and Kafka? I know we talked about you don't believe in Jones. I guess if you don't believe in Jones, Daboll and Kafka have their arms tied behind their back.
Yeah, and yeah, Tyrod, he's injured a little too. So tough for these New York coaches with what they've been given, both of them, like in trying to rebuild here. And yeah, I'm hesitant to even at the end of the year maybe make some sort of judgment on Daboll or Joe Shane, the general manager. Honestly, Mike Kafka talked about him a little on a preview pod. I think they might have a good coaching staff in place. And like I said, I like the wide receivers. I like some other, but obviously Saquon's a good running back. You have a few pieces on defense that are young. Like it's a good rebuild. And I think they passed on the option for a reason on their quarterback. And I think it would behoove them to lose a bunch of games and go get one of the guys we saw playing on Saturday and try to build around what you have right now. So yeah, hoping for both teams scoring about 20 in this one.
And you are waiting for a 44. All right. 44. Okay. I'm going to move on the under in this one, but I'm going to think about it a little more because Topset thinks this game will go over. And that makes me want to pause. But Ron Crawford says under. And I'd like to let Ron Crawford lead us into this next spot for us, Andy. Ron Crawford's spreadsheet play of the day is the Minnesota Vikings. And you already hinted to us that Minnesota Vikings is going to be a spot that you are on. Let's look at the line history here. We have the Packers open up -2, -105. They're now -2 at even money. So 5 to 7 cents movement towards the Vikings. This total opened up at 49.5 and has dropped to 47. Vikings beat the Pack at home last year. Can they do it again? And they're a better team, or at least they have a coaching staff that I like better. 19,330 tickets in. 56% of the tickets and 61% of the cash on the Packers. And now they've taken the VIG away from the Packers at this number, which is a red flag, which makes me think Vikings are the play. 65% of the tickets and 91% of cash on the under, and it's moved towards the under. Here we go. Packers, again, considered a Super Bowl contender. Lose Devontae Adams, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Equanimeous St. Brown at receiver. They bring in Sammy Watkins. Rodgers going to have to get more from Alan Lazard. Randall Cobb will need to give them more. They have a good 1-2 punch at running back in Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. This defense is expected to be very good. And Birdie in our chat has talked about how elite he believes this defense is going to be. Front has Kenny Clark and Dean Lowry. Jair Alexander, one of the top cover corners. You got Rasul Douglas in the secondary. For Minnesota, after 8 seasons of Zimmer, it's now the Kevin O'Connell era in Minnesota. This offense, we know it's very dangerous. You could say this is the most dangerous running back wide receiver trio in the league in Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen. The Vikings defense was awful last year. Awful. Only the Jets and Texans gave up more yards than Minnesota did in 2021. So what is Danielle Hunter going to give you? I feel like it's okay to bet Minnesota early. Trust Danielle Hunter and you have Zadarius Smith coming over, but can you trust these guys to stay healthy for a whole season? New defensive coordinator Ed Donatel is counting on both these players to stay healthy. Minnesota has had huge problems against the run, giving up average of 4.7 yards per carry. Donatel is making huge changes to the defensive plan. They couldn't stop the run in the 4-3, which they played for decades. Now they're moving to the 3-4. Also, the secondary will be relying on 32-year-old Patrick Peterson, 33-year-old Harrison Smith. It feels like this team will self-destruct, really, now that we talk about it. It feels like they're not capable of making it through. But early, they have a ton of value while these guys are healthy. Take it away, Andy. Packers, Vikings.
Yeah, if this Minnesota team plays well this year, it'll probably be predicated on the offense. Like, it'll be very, I don't know, Cincinnati-esque, where people, they had a few players on that defense that made some plays, but for good chunks, that defense was super susceptible. And I think Minnesota is probably similar. Like, hey, if Dalvin Cook stays healthy and Jefferson's as good as he's always been, Thielen's still there, you get anything out of Rieger, like that'd be a even bigger bonus. And the tight end of Smith there. It's if the offense is clicking, and I know we're making this big assumption when we say, hey, it's going to be the Rams offense. Like Kevin O'Connell didn't call plays out there. You just assume what you're going to get. And I think we're probably wrong to assume you're going to get, 80% the same, but there'll be a good chunk of the same. Like it is going to be, there's no chance it's going to be what we saw last year with what Zimmer was, kind of mandating for the offense, where it was a good run scheme, but it was still too much of a run scheme. So if we play the kind of offense you saw from the Rams with a Justin Jefferson, with Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook picking up the slack with the whatever zone run scheme they put into place, like it should be a good offense. That said, I think a couple of people in the chats pointed out it's and you brought it up, the defense has some big holes. Like Patrick Peterson's a million years old. Even your star safety Harrison Smith's getting a little old. You should have some good pass rushing up front if Danielle Hunter stays healthy, bringing in Smith, but it kind of works in tandem there. The pass rush and the secondary has to be good. And I mean, somebody pointed this out. It's the best teaser leg on the board. The total's lowish. It's a home dog. It's a divisional game. It's a team that has played this team pretty decent over the past couple of years. And Aaron Rodgers has bupkis for receivers. Like if you're banking on this offense playing well, you're banking on Allen Lazard. I really think you're going to see this offense in Green Bay really built around the two running backs. And boy, I think it works. It just might take a little time. So we'll see. Minnesota, like you said, they gave up a massive amount per carry as a rush defense. That needs to improve a little, but if it's going to be, the running game that gets them, at least it'll be a slower, lower scoring game where I'm a lot less worried about them falling outside of the 7.5 or 8.
Is this so? I thought you might be making
the DX Flyer. There we go. Or DX Filer. I called him a flyer.
Oh,
he brought it up. It is, this is my favorite teaser. Like putting this with the Rams, that's official. I already bet that.
Really? Okay, so the Rams Vikes is the teaser official. The Rams. And then well, we'll go over. So what? Actually, I'll ask you now. What did you get the Rams at? What did you get the Vikings at then?
It was you got me opening up books to figure out where I put it, because I think it was Bet Now that gives me -110. It's so hard to find -110, and then when you do, it's so hard to find the limit. I think I had the Vikes at 2. Give me a second, we'll get back to it.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Take your time. I would like to answer, if you could, Andy, while you're gonna have to multitask here.
Oh,
Birdie has some interesting things to say because I was leaning towards moving on the Vikings here, and now I'm feeling some trepidation here. Birdie says this Vikings offense will potentially be really good, but that O-line is not good. Now learning a whole new blocking scheme, trouble. Then he says the entire mini defense was handpicked by Zimmer, and now they're changing the scheme. These guys have been in for years. This mini love is nuts.
Yeah, I really do think like if this team is good, it's the offense just working out. And the offensive line, there is something to be said for some continuity that they've had. Some of these guys have played together for a couple years, but I don't know. It might be time to be moving on from some of these young guys they've brought in that haven't worked out. If the offensive line can't get a little bit better, we're in big trouble up here in Minnesota. But I do think that just what we'll see from an offensive game plan, play sequencing, play calling from Kevin O'Connell, it's just like I can't tell you what we're going to get, but I can tell you it's going to be a lot more better. And you know, with the times than what we saw from Mike Zimmer, kind of keeping up with what's working in today's offense. So I am worried about this defense. I think the Vikings are a good look for an over team like throughout the season. What if this offense is just super fun? Ed Jefferson's tearing it apart, and they found a way to, kind of work around a bad offensive line, get it to these playmakers, and the defense just stinks. Vikings playing in, 45, 42 games every week. So that's why I said the total's low, but I'm hesitant to think that in some of these other matchups. I'm very down on what Green Bay's offense can be this year.
So interesting. Ron Crawford spreadsheet play is Minnesota Vikings. Andy's got his teaser, and it's Rams Vikings. We'll get the numbers there so I can track it. We have Cheshire Cat with a $10 dono. Thank you, Cheshire, my man. He says, DX Filer is a dude who helps bring people together. Love this dude. If you haven't already, DX Filer, a.k.a. Gamblestein, a professional poker player. And we will be announcing this week our poker tournament at BetOnline. And it's going to be free roll for all of us. But there'll be at least $1,000 in cash up for grabs. And we're really excited about it. So we'll be announcing that this week. Crawford, our guy Ron Crawford, spreadsheet play day on the Vikings. Let's move on. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Kansas City Chiefs, 12-5, 5-3 on the road last year at the Cardinals, 11-6, 3-5 at home at State Farm Stadium. In Glendale, Arizona, there has been a giant market move towards the Kansas City Chiefs. They opened up at -3. They're now -6. From a total perspective, opened up at 53. Now it is 54. A lot of this happened when DeAndre Hopkins was handed the 6-game suspension for violating the league's PED policy. But our guy, Dennis Garcia, thinks this has gone too far. And I agree. By the way, DX Filer, a.k.a. Gamblestein, we need you badly in the poker tournament. We need some pros in the tourney. So we need you. I know you play for big dollars. This is jump change, but we need you. We need you, baby. Kyle Murray signed a monster contract in the offseason. Last year, he threw for 3,787 yards, 24 touchdowns, 10 picks. He won't have Hopkins. He will have Hollywood Brown. Still have A.J. Green. James Conner returns. Darrell Williams came over from Kansas City in the offseason to replace Chase Edmonds. Let's take a look at the cash here. They have given 10% line value to the Kansas City Chiefs, 19,229 tickets in, 61% of the tickets, 74% of the cash on the Kansas City Chiefs. Markets moved heavily in their direction, but too far. 62% of tickets and 76% of cash on the over. Oh, we need you, DX. We need you. We need the star power that you bring. Zach Ertz remains one of the more reliable tight ends for sure. 74 receptions last year. He's questionable for the opener. Defensively, they lose Chandler Jones. They have J.J. Watt for now. Marcus Golden, Devon Kennard, Nick Vigil. Not a bad linebacking group. Byron Murphy, Budda Baker in the secondary. The Chiefs had Tyreek Hill leave them in the offseason, but they still have a strong receiving core. Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Mecole Hardman. They drafted Sky Moore in the second round. Travis Kelce, still an excellent tight end. 1,125 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns last year. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back to lead the Chiefs running group. This Chiefs defense was ugly last year. 28th in opponent yards per play, 31st in sack percentage. They didn't do much to improve it in the offseason. They did spend 2 first-round draft picks on their defense. Trent McDuffie, cornerback, defensive lineman George Karlaftis. They signed Carlos Dunlap, who knows what he could give them. Chris Jones leads the Chiefs pass rush. Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, linebackers, L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, Justin Reed lead the secondary. Is this too many points now? Is this gone too far? Should we move on it now? And you take it away, Chiefs Cardinals.
It probably still has moved a lot, but it's still under a touchdown in a high total game with an offense I'm kind of checked out on for the time being in Arizona. And again, Kansas City, like somebody said, super interesting receiver core. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Like, did they luck into a Tyreek Hill and a Travis Kelce, or are they the kind of team and coaching staff and I guess talent evaluators in the front office who find players like this and create them? Because Patrick Mahomes can do what Patrick Mahomes does, but we'll see what the rest of this receiving core can do. I'm out on Clyde Edwards-Helaire at this point, I guess. Juju can have a big season. I know McCole Hardman a little banged up. Scantling, I don't know if I saw enough of him in Green Bay to really make a good evaluation, but it's a lot easier when you're playing with elite quarterbacks with a good offensive system. And then, there is a really, really good tight end that's still in town. So I think the Kansas City offense should be fine. Like we talked about the pass rush, you have Chris Jones, you have Frank Clark, you got pieces on the defense that you're never going to be able to fill in all the gaps when you're paying. I mean, the contract already got brought up. When you're paying a quarterback that much, and we haven't even hit the rough years of his contract yet, but it is really tough to put together, a stud at every position or to man every single spot and every single positional group here. And there are pieces that leave something to be desired on this defense. That said, Cliff's getting shit on in the chat. And yes, Cliff is, I don't know, not a Cliff guy. He showed himself to be probably a bit of a fraud at times, looked horrible in the playoffs. Kyler is great. He's very electric when he's 100% healthy, but as soon as he's dinged up, it's not the same guy. They're not running him as much. The threat of the run takes away so much. And the offense isn't what we were promised when we got Cliff into town. It's not some high tempo, constantly throwing the ball deep. It's just, he uses a lot of wide receivers. It's still a dink and dunk offense at times, and I don't like it because I think it's easily kind of defended for certain teams. So I am certainly not betting the Chiefs at this price. I want to lean under here, but I can't do it with the Chiefs offense on the field. So I'm a hard pass on this one, although I get the move. I know some people got some early numbers on Kansas City. Just kudos. Hopefully CLV is keeping you warm in your bank account and not your fireplace this year.
I get it, but this is too much. This is just too much.
It's a big move.
And I'm going to bet the Cardinals. It's just too much. It's not week one. The Cardinals are being – look, I'm not high on the Cardinals, but they're being disrespected at too high of a rate. And I'm taking the Cardinals at +6. I will bet that tonight. And I do not think that the +6 will be available come kickoff, personally. We move on. We have 3 more games left on this card. Next up, 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Las Vegas Raiders 10-7, 5-3 on the road at Los Angeles Chargers, 9-8, 5-4 at home. We're at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. We'll start with the line history in SoFi. Sorry, let me move over here. And this one, we opened at Pinnacle at 3.5. Pick'em. It's now juiced to the Raiders at +3.5. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 52. It's now at 52.5, slightly juiced to the over. We'll see if the cash correlates with that. Let's see what Topset's saying. Chiefs defense is real, Jimmy. If Chiefs start hot, jump ship. I just think this is an overreaction. Look, it was sitting at 4 and everybody was on the Chiefs. God bless them. But this is just too much for me, Elio. Raiders, Chargers. So let's talk about where the cash lies in this one. We have 15,673 tickets in, 49% of the tickets, 71% of the cash on the Raiders. Then 86% of tickets on the over, but we don't have a cash line from Sports Insights. Las Vegas handled enormous amounts of adversity last year spectacularly well, and Derek Carr was a big reason why. He had an excellent season. He showed a ton of leadership, very tough times, and he never showed that they were tough times. He kept moving forward. 4,804 yards, 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. They signed him to a 3-year, $121.5 million contract. They bring in Josh McDaniels. They bring in Devontae Adams to an already dangerous offense. It includes Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow. Their running game needs to be better this year. They averaged 95.1 yards per game on the ground. That was 28th in the league. Look, Josh Jacobs, he's got to be better. 2019 first-round draft pick. It's not all filling the box against the Raiders. He should have a ton of room. I know he battled injuries last year. 872 yards rushing. That's the first time the Alabama product didn't run for 1,000 in his 3-year career. On defense, they had Chandler Jones, Rock Ya-Sin. The Raiders allowed the 6th fewest points in the AFC last season. There are question marks on the Raiders' offensive line, but this seems to be a better team. The Chargers return nearly their entire starting offense. This was a top 5 offense a year ago. Herbert was very good last year. 5,014 passing yards, first ever Charger to throw over 5,000, 38 touchdown passes. They draft right guard Zion Johnson out of Boston College to protect him. They had Sony Michel to help Austin Eckler carry the load. The defense coming off an ugly season, 30th in the league, allowing 27 points per game. They're expected to be stronger this year. Joey Bosa on the edge, Derwin James at safety. They add Khalil Mack in the trade for a couple draft picks. They signed J.C. Jackson, Kyle Van Noy, Sebastian Joseph Day. It will be very difficult for the Chargers to slow down Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. Their right tackle is in for a long day. Also, I like this Chargers team, and I really want to hear, Andy, what you have to say about the Chargers, because I really like them. And, you know, my dad has season tickets. He's going to be at opening night there for the Chargers. And I think Brandon Staley is going to hurt this football team. And when he talks about watching Serena Williams for 3.5 hours, I think, what a fucking ass clown. You're watching Serena Williams for 3 hours. You think McVay is up watching Serena Williams for 3 hours? You think that your fucking coaches that you're up against give a fuck about what's happening at the U.S. Open? Staley, you're going to fucking cost this football team. Yes. Fucking right off. Take it away here for us, Andy. Raiders, Chargers.
I like the Chargers just based on their obvious roster. Like, they have absolutely crushed it. They hit on a quarterback. They hit on a quarterback, which is the best thing you can do for a team, because then you can build around him because you're not paying him shit yet. They have 2 good receivers. They have an electric back who's also a big part of the passing game. And as you talked about, there's a ton of good defensive pass rushers, like essentially a whole handful of guys who can get after it. And I watched Serena too, but I had money on Ayla, so I had to. I really needed her to come through. That last point was really a grinder for me. But I bet this over. I have a 52 flat. You can still bet that at Bookmaker right now. I really like this Chargers defense. But that said, I'm high on the Raiders offense, if nothing else. I think Derek Carr gets grossly underrated. I found a stat from 2 years ago, but I just struggle to find this one for next year. The NFL next gen stuff, like escape rates. He's always been near the top. They was top 5 2 years ago. I think he was near the top last year. His scramble rate is really good too, as far as just like, if a quarterback runs on a play where he's not designed to run, he averaged 8.7 a carry last year, which is super high. He's been great with he's had to, and not to the point of his brother, but he's been great under pressure at times. He has a great new weapon. Even if he disappoints, Devontae Adams is a big upgrade from basically anything you've had for a while, and you have a stud tight end. Both of these offense should eat. So I took an over 52 here. Even if the Chargers pass rush gets after it, I like Carr to break that a little. I think the Chargers win this game, but I think both of them end up in the high 20s, low 30s. So I'm hoping for a fun barn burner here.
Yeah, this all makes sense to me. So you got just for record keeping, bookkeeping, 52 at minus 110 still available?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So you said that you like the Chargers defense. Is it Khalil Mack and the signings? Because what is it that's going to change what we saw from last year?
Yeah, and that's where I think you might be. While I don't agree that the Chargers are going to be bad, I think you're right about Staley. Like, if you bring in Staley, why isn't this defense better? Like, he's a defensive head coach. Like, why is what we saw on the field what we got from that crew? And I guess there was injuries. There are every year. They're cursed by something. The Chargers are, but I'm fully healthy. Derwin James makes a big difference, but I don't know that he's some defensive mastermind. They might underperform even with all those names and kind of still rely on this offense to do it. But if I'm incorrect about that and you're incorrect about that, and he gets this defense humming, this is a team that can probably win the Super Bowl because they have enough pieces on offense.
I was going to say something about that. I feel like the Chargers and the Niners, there's some value in the futures market. Have you used the Chargers in any futures action? Even though I think Staley is going to, when push comes to shove, Staley's going to be out coached. But do you have interest in the Chargers in the futures market?
I don't think I have any. I should look in that. I don't traditionally love betting Super Bowl prices unless it's a big long shot on somebody I think I can trade out of later. But yeah, I don't think I have a Super Bowl ticket outside of I have a Jags meet the Lions in the Super Bowl ticket just to have one. So 25 pays a million or however much it was. So that's just need that to happen, and then I'll do this show from the beach.
Oh, I thought I was in that situation with the Niners last year when I got in at 33-1 for the conference, 66-1 for the Super Bowl. I was like dreaming. Andy is locked in on the over 52 at minus 110, and I am interested. I am very interested in that look that you're on. Let me just take one last look here at the cash flow for this one. This one really interests me. Oh, where is it? Oh, here we go. So we have, we don't know. Just all that we have is 86% of the tickets on the over. They're not giving us a cash number. And what was the move on the total? Just 1 cent. From 106 to 107. Interesting.
Who does Nate Diaz fight this weekend there, Jonathan?
Oh, yeah, Nate Diaz is
I think I'm going to the fights. Somebody might have some tickets. I'll be out in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, you're going to be in Vegas.
So,
yeah, nice.
Yeah, I have to. I'm going to need people. Hit me up on Twitter if you have some UFC picks. I have to bet it if I'm there.
Yeah, you do. You do. Just don't get robbed by street hookers. That's the only thing I ask you.
Things happen.
All right, let's move on to the Sunday nighter. And this is my first live bet stream of the year, baby. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Dallas Cowboys right here on Pub Sports Radio. I will be hosting, and I'm very excited. And I want to bet the under. I want to have some money on the under when the game starts. I need to figure out exactly how I want to live bet this. And I'd like to do that work right here. Buccaneers 13-4, 6-3 on the road last season. Cowboys 12-5 last year, 5-3 home at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. And I'm so excited about getting a chance to do the live stream. We do start on Thursday night with Dutch Boy Fresh. We're gonna have so much fun with these live streams. Let's start with the line history here in the Bucs Cowboys and see what we are dealing with. The Sunday nighter, baby. This one's gonna be fun. The Bucs open up at -2. They're now -2.5. Now they were -1 today, this morning. There was a 1.5 move towards them this morning. From a total standpoint, opened up at 52 and it's already down to 50.5. But it was at 50, so it's come up a little bit. Interesting. I really want to hear your comments in the chat about this game. I really want to hear it because I want to fire shots on Sunday night. Let's take a look at the cash flow in this one. Buccaneers, Cowboys, Brady, Prescott, 16,304 tickets in, 61% of tickets, 66% of the cash on the Buccaneers. Markets move towards them. 65% of tickets and 96% of cash on the under, and it's moved from 52 to 50, but back up to 50 and a half. So Tom Brady, a perfect 6-0 versus the Cowboys in his career. Last year, 5,316 yards passing, go along with 43 touchdowns and 12 picks. Quacta says, love the over again. Ron Crawford says over. Well, this is why we talk these things out. And DX Filer has the Chargers to win the division at plus 275. Prince of the City says, Bebsy's bet against Tom Terrific in all 17 games already. Yes, he's not a fan of Tom Terrific, who looks like he's having marital problems, which for people who are filled with jealous rage puts a smile on their faces. The Bucs have a ton of injuries. We have to start with the Bucs injuries. Ryan Jensen, Pro Bowl center, injured reserve, not done for the year. He has been replaced by Robert Hainsey. Hainsey looked like he wasn't going to be able to play. It looks like he will be able to play. He's battling through injuries. Aaron Stinney, starting guard, done for the season, torn left ACL and MCL. He was supposed to be the one to replace Ali Marpet, who retired. Chris Godwin working his way back from the torn ACL. Russell Gage got hurt this summer, but he's expected to be ready to go. Julio Jones joins the club. Gronkowski, of course, retires. Jason Pierre-Paul, Ndamukong Suh, both gone. Holes on the defensive line. They bring in Carl Nassib. They sign Akeem Hicks. And maybe you get a full year of Vita Vea. We know what he does when he's there in the middle, stopping the run. Logan Ryan and Keanu Neal come in to replace Jordan Whitehead. Keanu Neal to replace Jordan Whitehead. Everybody seems to be waiting for Mike McCarthy to be fired and Sean Payton to be hired in Dallas. This Dallas offense is expected to take a step back this year. They took a massive hit when Tyron Smith got hurt, 17-16 without Smith on the field. Now they have their 21-year-old first-round pick who people thought went too early, Tyler Smith. A ton of pressure on him, and he lines up with 40-year-old vet Jason Peters to protect Prescott. 4,449 yards last year, 37 touchdowns, 10 picks for Dak. Zeke coming off a decent year. I thought it was worse in my head, and I was like, oh, he did go over 1,000, but just simply doesn't seem as dominant this last 2 years. Gallup and James Washington are out, so you can double CD, and then Schultz maybe open. Jalen Tolbert has got to step up immediately. This Cowboys defensive interior is vulnerable. They lose Randy Gregory, but most of the starters in like Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, DeMarcus Lawrence, Anthony Brown are all back. The secondary is stronger than it's ever been. Diggs, Brown, Kearse, Hooker are all back, ready to improve on a big 2021. I am very interested, Andy, because I'm going to be live Sunday night. Can't wait to hear your breakdown. Take it away. The Sunday nighter, Buccaneers, Cowboys.
Yeah, I like the under, and I'm pissed that I missed the move. It was something I talked about with someone last week, and I was just kind of waiting for a few things, and sure enough, we get smacked for a couple points today. There's still 51s. Still may be a move, especially if maybe we get some game day over. This is a Sunday night game, and, the public money doesn't always move stuff, but boy, howdy. It would be great if the public could get the shit kicked out of them all day and then hammer this over. This is one I'll be monitoring up to game time. If we get pushed back to like 52, I like this under quite a bit. You have the problems with the offensive line for Tampa Bay, and you have the pieces to play a bit of an underneath the offense. It's a smart coaching staff there. We've seen this, obviously a completely different team coaching staff. We've seen this in the playoffs one time with Brady, where they were having troubles with the offensive line, and they were facing a bunch of good pass rushes, and they just started to get the ball out in like under 2 seconds per drop back. Like, you're not going to hit him if he's throwing it in like 1.9 seconds every time. It just doesn't work. You can't get there quick enough. So I'd like to see that from this offense. I think that's the smart move. I think that's what you'll see. This offense is capable of having that kind of underneath check down, dink and dunk offense, especially if you have a problem with the offensive line. And then Dallas is kind of in the same boat. And the only owner in the league who gets to call plays has said they want to run the ball more, and they want to run the ball with their worst running back in Zeke. And if we see more Zeke than Pollard, this offense might get stuck in the muds at time. Not that Zeke is bad, but he's not as good as he once was. And it's not a league where running first is ever the right answer. So I do like this under quite a bit, especially with the Dallas wide receivers dinged up. I like Tolbert. I have a Rookie of the Year ticket on him strictly because of the injuries and opportunity he gets, but it doesn't always happen from week one. And hopefully he doesn't get quite going in week one, at least from a scoring standpoint. Maybe give me a 99-yard touchdown fumble or a 99-yard catch, fumble it out of the end zone kind of thing. The best play in Underland. But yeah, this is almost certainly going to be on the card, especially if it moves up. And I fully agree with the move to the under.
So do you think then that I should wait? I'm going to start I live bet Sunday, Mondays. I'm going to start with $1,000 in the account. And, but I do think that my live bet firing, I think, is going to be just $50 a live bet because I want to be comfortable making multiple bets quickly and not like nervous about it at all. But I would like to have some under before we go in. But do you think I'm wise to wait? Because we've seen it go from 50 to 50.5 here in the last 24 hours.
Yeah. It might keep moving, and I might just not get this bet in. And sometimes you miss your market entry, and it sucks. But it could be a live betting opportunity for you. But I'm gonna wait till Sunday. Especially, God, there's something. I bet all offshore. It's not legal here, so I love having a paper ticket. Something about that. So I would love this number to get bet up a little by the public on Sunday afternoon and get me a nice under ticket. Wasn't this the opener last year? Dallas Tampa?
I believe so.
I think this is the Thursday night game that started Vegas for me last year.
What are your expectations on the Buccaneers rush defense this year?
Again, if you get a full year of the big guy in the middle, you should be fine, right? Like it's still going to be good up there if Vita's healthy, and you bring in. I don't know, I'd have to look at how Hicks was as generally as a rush defender. Bringing in some pieces there in Hicks, and brought in Logan Ryan as a deep safety. Keanu Neal. I guess it depends what kind of defense they call. That's a good question to be answered come Sunday when we watch some of this. See what kind of defenses they're deciding to run here. As far as, when you replace two pieces like that in both safeties. And yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. I think they're going to be fine. Again, Vita Vea sometimes can eat up three guys. I guess it doesn't matter if Akeem Hicks is good or not. Rush defense, if you got a big body like that, just a mountain of a man eating up people. So I think they'll be okay. They've always been good past few years at linebacker. And if Zeke's running these stupid little, leak outs where they try to throw him the ball out of the backfield, that's going to be fine. That shit just hasn't worked. So I think this could be an ugly one. I hate it that it's a Sunday night and I'm betting it under, but ish.
I can't wait. For Sunday night. And it may just be the Kraken talking, but I can't wait for Sunday night. May need to get a new bottle for Sunday night. All right, let's move on to Monday night, where I'll also be live. So Sunday night, Monday night, all year.
Jeez.
Sunday night.
No time off for you.
Oh, no, they said that nice for me. Sunday night, Monday night, all year. I'm going to be live betting with you guys. And then Tuesday, we roll into my show with Andy. So I'm really excited about the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday run we're going to have. 8:15 p.m. Eastern, our Monday nighter. Denver Broncos, 7-10, 3-5 on the road at Seattle Seahawks, 7-10, 4-4 at home. We're at Lumen Field, Seattle, Washington. Mostly sunny, 73 Fahrenheit, 5 miles per hour is the wind. It's a beautiful day in the Pacific Northwest on Monday. Take a look at the line history here. We have Nuggets. Sorry. We have the Broncos opening up -4.5. They're now -6.5. They were -6 for a while. They moved to 6.5 at 11:30 this morning. From a total side of things, opened up at 41.5 and has shot up to 44.5. It was 43 this morning, and it moved up to 44.5. Wow. I mean, I just find this wild. Do we really think that the Seahawks are going to be able to put up points? Let's take a look at where the cash lies on Monday. We have 21,902 tickets in, 9% of the tickets, 14% of the cash on the Seahawks. Then 82% tickets, 87% cash on the over. Wow. Russell Wilson makes his return to Seattle. You don't have to wait long. Week 1. And he signed a 5-year, $245 million contract with $165 million guaranteed. Last year, the Broncos scored an average of 19.7 points per game. We all expect that to change with Wilson under center. Yes, they lost Tim Patrick to a season-ending injury, but Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Wilson has weapons. Javonte Williams expected to have a big year this year on the ground. The Broncos defense expected to be strong. Randy Gregory, Bradley Chubb, Pat Surtain, and Ronald Darby. This will be the head coaching debut of former Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. Let's talk about the Seahawks. Combination of Geno Smith and Drew Lock at quarterback. I almost laughed. Geno Smith will start. Career record of 13-21. Geno Smith and Joe Flacco. I know we're not sure if we'll see Joe Flacco, but these guys are just under machines. I mean, how much money have we made on unders with these two guys? And Geno Smith, can make the odd mistake, but I don't expect him to here week 1. I think he's going to be real conservative. Their stronger receiver, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. Second-round rookie running back Kenneth Walker looked so good in camp, but hernia injury is not likely for week 1. But it's possible that he'll play, but he's not likely. Offensive line expected to be improved with Cross and Abraham Lucas. On defense, they bring in Nwosu. Their secondary, we know, is going to be strong with Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. The Monday nighter, I'm all ears, Andy. I'll be live here on Pop Sports Radio. Take it away, Broncos Seahawks.
Yeah, I didn't. I guess if you had to pick one team that you thought all year might get shut out at home, I just don't understand what they're doing with the Seattle offense. I have them ranked as my 30th best offensive line. I have them as a team who likes to run the ball behind that line generally. I have Drew Lock is not, Geno Smith he's winning a quarterback competition. That says a lot about the quarterback competition. You have two really good wide receivers. It's a weird disconjointed roster. Like, your strong point is your wide receivers, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Like, it's almost just a complete waste of those guys, and they'll get theirs. It's not like they're going to get shut out for the damn year. They'll catch passes. They'll make some flash plays, but with a bad offensive line and bad, just play calling, play sequencing, overall offensive, mindset, and what you're going to get from Geno Smith and maybe Drew Lock. And then, like we said, the bad offensive line, we might get hurt. You might end up with a Geno Smith injury. You might see Drew Lock just because we have to. So I'm never excited about laying this many points on the road. But I do lean a little bit towards this under here, or like a Seattle team total under. Denver's defense isn't what it was 5 years ago, but boy, I struggle to see how the Seattle Seahawks offense just makes things happen here from a standpoint of getting to what would they need to get to, pert near 20. I'm guessing that team total is a 17.5, 18.5 kind of range too. So I don't hate that, but I also look at this under. I don't know if Mr. Unlimited just kind of pops in and just, seamlessly transitions to this offense with these young receivers that we all have so much hope for. But, and that's, again, I'm not laying that many points on a road with a bit of an unknown like this in a standalone game. If this keeps getting bad, feel free, take it a teaser, toss it in with the Saints. Saints about 2.5-point dogs next week, hosting Tampa Bay. I like that as a nice little teaser leg if you need to do the week 1, week 2 connection. But under maybe a Denver teaser, but this is stay away from. You know what I'm betting here? I'm betting first touchdown scorers. That's again, it's a primetime game. I'll have 6 of those for sure. That's the best part about primetime games.
Why do we have a move to the over? And by the way,
and it was heavy. Like they know the goddamn final score. Like,
yeah,
it's just again. I think there was a group that released a play today, and you get so much steam on that nowadays with how that works that it just the whole market moved with it. Wouldn't surprise me if you saw this get bought back down, and it trickled back down to 44, maybe even below that. So we'll see. But even right now at Chris, which again is taking maybe less on sides, but you can bet $5,000 on the side, and it is 44.5 minus 13 to the over. So it's still it took a hefty move. And I guess maybe this Seattle defense has something that'll be the last time I hopefully have to talk about Seattle this year. Maybe they just quit the league, but this defense last year was a weird one where the numbers from a 10,000 point or foot view didn't look so bad. And it's because they did this, like they did prevent defense on first down on the first play of the game, where teams were not getting anything deep on them for the most part, but teams were just crushing them underneath for way more yards than anybody gives up underneath. So you had to cross the street 100 times to get to the end zone against this team, but they just let you. So the defense, I mean, it was maybe not their fault with what they had to work with, but the defense was ugly, and it wasn't totally visible on paper until you looked at how ugly it was. And I don't know if that's sustainable. So this defense might be worse. So I guess maybe the over is based on the Broncos scoring a lot of points here. So I don't know how Seattle's getting in the end zone. It's just, 10 to 14 points for them.
This market move is just throwing me for a loop. I don't know what to do with it. The team total for the Seahawks full game is 17.5. First half, it's 7.5. And it's 7.5, and it's heavily juiced to the under.
Those are squarely.
So I've got I would like to get a little bit of the under 44.5 in my pocket. I think I'd like to have a little bit of that in my pocket right now. So I'd like to bet it here, knowing that I'll be live for it on Monday night. And Williams Wrestling, thank you for the kind words. No, Loshak in the bag done for the next little while. I'm focusing a ton of my energy on NFL right now. So until for the next few months, it'll be the Peter Loshak show on Tuesdays, and I'll be doing betting with the bag Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think I would like to have a little under 44.5 in my pocket. I just feel like it's just gone too high. And then if I want to buy out of it somewhat, I'll have the opportunity to do that live. There you have it. All 16 games broken down right here on Pub Sports Radio. Thank you guys so much for rolling with us. So much fun to have Andy breaking down the card with us. You will see him all season right here. Let's review action. And before I do that, Andy, did you find the numbers for?
Yeah, I did. I only did get 1.5. Sometimes you take the worst number to get the better price because I wanted minus 110. So it was Vikings plus 7.5, 6-point teaser, and Rams plus 8.5.
Rams plus 8.5 and Vikings plus 7.5. And that is locked in here. Okay, let's review all action here. Thursday nighter, Bills, Rams. You're using the Rams in your teaser. First half under, I would like to have in my pocket, and I will be joining Dutch. Hopefully, I'll ask Dutch if I can join him. I would like to be a part of that Thursday night show early. And also, the whole plan at this point is if one team gets us early, whoever gets the first touchdown, I'm going to take the other side. I think it's going to be a close game, and I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be a fun one. Then Sunday, Saints, Falcons, no action for either of us. I'm going to move on the under 41 tonight in 49ers and Bears. Then the Steelers team total over 17.5. I'm moving on in Steelers, Bengals. Eagles, Lions, no action. Pats team total under 20.5 will be on my card. I will bet that this evening. The under in the Ravens Jets game, I'm moving on. Jaguars, Commanders, there's no action. Andy's on the over 41.5 in Cleveland, Carolina. And I'm interested in it. I'm going to take some more time on that, but that's his first spot. I'm going to be on the first half over 23 in Indianapolis Colts, Houston Texans. The under for me in Giants Titans. Andy's going to wait for a 44. Andy's teaser is the Rams plus 8.5 and the Vikings plus 7.5. Ron Crawford's spreadsheet play today is the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to move on the Arizona Cardinals at plus 6. Andy has the over 52 in Raiders Chargers. And I'm moving on unders in those two games. The Sunday nighter under 50.5 in Tampa Dallas and the under 44.5 in Denver Seattle. And we'll see how we live bet it when push comes to shove. Andy, if during the week there's ever a spot that you want to add onto your official record, you can just send it to me and I'll tweet it out for you to our friends.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So, I will. I always add. It's a long week yet.
Cool. There's no pressure on that, but if you ever do, let me know. And then I know you're in Vegas this week, but we'd love to have you on one of our Sunday pub hubs in the morning of the game. Also, thank you, man. Andy Molitor from BetSperts here joining us. Check him out at BetSperts, and also the deep dive podcast that you do with the Whale Capper. We love it, and we're really excited about having you in the family. Thank you for
this was fun. It felt good to get week one, got the blood pumping. Made some NFL bets. Here we go.
Let's fucking go. I'm really excited. Don Play says, what's your best bet for Sunday? Is it Arizona plus 6? I think I would like to sleep on it at this point. Go over and put out my action right now. A quick look through. Definitely the Cardinals at plus 6 is not my favorite play. I do not. I just feel like it's gone too far. That's my own assumption. And it's not something where I'm sitting here going, that's my favorite play. I would say that right now it's between the Steelers team total over and the Patriots team total under. I also really like the Ravens Jets under. That might end up being my favorite play. I need to bet them and feel, that sensation when you make a bet. I need to feel that. So I can tell you better tomorrow. I would say those are my top 3 right now, but if I just give it to you right now, I'm not putting enough energy and time into it. I'm not you need to really sit with it. Also, you need to feel that feeling when you make the bet and you're like, this feels so good. Or, All right, Harold Williams jumping on that Pats team total under. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Saturated Cheshire Cat. Saturated asking if Andy is a shoey virgin. Andy, the shoeys have caught fire here. Pub Sports Radio.
I've drank out of a moccasin. I don't know if that counts.
It does count. We can come up with a new name for it.
Yeah.
We need to come up with a new name for it.
Appreciate everyone in the chat.
Yeah,
really active chat. Great. Week 1. You guys are in mid-season form.
Yeah, they are. I love it. Slatsy, Saturated, Don Play, Cheshire Cat, C-Mac. C-Mac was the star of our Sunday night college football live betcast, and he's the star of our NCAA football breakdowns on usually Mondays. We switched to Tuesday because Babano was at the Labor Day game, the Ticats Argos. But that came out today, so you can see that right now on Pub Sports Radio. We've broken down all the games C-Mac and Babano dropped, and then you can catch C-Mac and Babano on Saturdays with our NCAA Pub Hub. Thank you guys. Harold Williams, Jonathan Yim, Sky Dragon, Mike M, Don Play, DX Filer, Terry Walker, Alex Ramirez, Top Set, Cheshire Cat. Cheshire, thank you for the donos throughout the show, man. It means a ton to us. Thank you for caring about us. Birdie, Papa Calls. Great group. Thank you guys. Drinking Hand. We also had Coactus, whom I love dearly. Alex Ramirez, Spidey Play the Day, and Alex Ramirez. I'm so excited. We started off 12-2 in the preseason. So excited to work with Andy this year and always with you guys in the chat. Let's get that fucking money. Remember, the Cappers contest, get in, $100, 5 picks against the spread, the Survivor pool, and Jose and I have the Cappers contest show. On behalf of Andy and myself, thank you guys so much for supporting us. We will see you guys again very soon. Thank you to Jose Bouquet, our producer, doing a great job. And I'm so excited. Football's fucking back, baby. Let's go out there and get that cash. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys soon.